Good evening. I'd like to call to order the regular meeting of the Carrabelle City Commission. It's Thursday, July the 7th, 2017, 6 p.m. at the Carrabelle City Hall. I would like to ask Commissioner Cal Allen to please say the invocation, and then we'll set the pledge of allegiance to the flag. Please stand.
Our God and Father in heaven, we're so grateful that we have this opportunity to come together to discuss the things that pertain to the life, health, and welfare of our lovely city. We thank you for blessing us with this wonderful crowd tonight and several visitors we have tonight. They'll find things very interesting and informative in their views. We ask you to be with our leaders of our country, Father. And in the words of that old song, if we ever needed your help, oh Lord, we surely need it now. We ask you to be with those who lead, that they might deal wisely and justly, as you've always required of those that you put in office. We ask you to be with us tonight and on this board as we discuss these things, that we might be fair and reasonable, and that we might do the things ultimately that would be the best for our wonderful citizens. We ask all this in our Lord's name. Amen. Amen.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Commissioner. All right, we'll move on now to the consent agenda as our July 6, 2017 minutes and the attorney's invoices for the general fund and the CRA fund. Okay, if you can't hear us, and all of y'all, please move your microphones towards you closer so they can hear. Can you hear now? Okay. I'm wondering, sir, in the back there, if you might close that door so we can keep our little bit of air conditioning in here. Thank you so much. Okay. Thank you. We would like to entertain a motion to approve or disapprove the consent agenda. It has our minutes and our attorney's invoices.
I'll make the motion to approve.
Okay.
Second.
All right, so we have a motion by Commissioner Massey and a second by Commissioner Allen. Is there any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? And that motion carries. Okay, so then we'll just move right away to Mr. Mark Payne, our CPA and auditor, with his presentation of the 2016 financial statements.
Can you guys hear me? Okay, if everyone has their audit, we'll go through what I consider to be the highlights of it. This is the audit for the city of Carrabelle for the year ending September 30, 2016. Probably the most important thing is on page 1 and 2, which is our independent auditor's report. Basically, this is a clean opinion, and what it says is this: these financial statements are materially correct in all material instances. These financial statements are your responsibility. My responsibility is to express an opinion on your financial statements. So in a nutshell, that's what that means. Clean opinion, which is good. If you'll turn to page 11. Can you hear? Okay, page 11.
Good.
Sounds better. I want to sing a song.
Much better. Thank you.
So this is a statement of net position. Basically, it lists all the assets, all the liabilities, and residual equity for the city of Carrabelle. Total assets for the city, and I'm going to use rounded numbers, $60 million. Total net position or equity is $53 million. Total liabilities is $7 million. Okay, this includes all the infrastructure for the city, all the local roads, the sidewalks, anything you guys maintain would be in these numbers, the parks, water, all that in these numbers. Okay? Page 14. This is a statement of revenues, expenditures, and changes in fund balance. Probably the biggest thing in my mind to point out is the special revenue fund. If you'll notice, it operated last year, and I believe this was the intention of the commission was to spend that CRA money, so you guys obviously did that, ended up in the red about $500,000. So overall for your governmental funds last year, we lost $600,000. The majority of that was the CRA, and I think you guys are intentionally trying to spend that money, as I stated earlier. Page 18. This is a Water, Sewer, and Port Authority fund as of September 30th. The biggest thing in my mind to point out here is this. We ended up making $3.5 million last year. Probably the biggest thing that we probably should note would be years ago there were some tap fees by a third party. They had through a certain date, I believe that date was December 31st of 15, to exercise their tap fee options. They failed to do that. Therefore, we pulled that liability back into income, which was $1.5 million of that. In addition to that, we had a grant of $3 million, which helped end up in the black at $3.5 million of your proprietary funds. That's good. Page 63. Basically, every year, whenever we come in and audit the city, we look at internal controls, we look at compliance issues. Page 63 to 64 are basically a management's response to our findings that we had, such as the preparation of the financial statements, segregation of duties, credit card policy, sales tax, the CRA, just some general documentation issue, debt compliant issues, an accounting manual issue, et cetera, et cetera. So some of these findings have gone away from last year, and I don't think we had any new findings, but I know we got rid of a couple of findings. And Brenda, I believe you wanted to say something
I
as well.
have quite a few things to mention here, but first, does anyone have questions for Mr. Payne? Anyone have questions? Okay. So we went over a couple of items that you just spoke here that I have a couple of little questions. And I just wanted to mention our long-term debt last year was $9,746,000, so that's down now to or the year before, September 30th last year, down $6,879,000. Just wanted to reiterate that. And then I was going to mention the net position on the port and airport and the water department. That's water and sewer. You mentioned that. Then our CRA. Right here on page 31, actually it shows all of our receivable funds and payable funds, because funds have been moved back and forth. And on 9/30/2013, your financial statement indicated that the CRA owed to the general fund $1,571,000, payable from the general fund to the special revenue fund, which is the CRA. In 2014, the general fund paid the CRA $835,464 as a payment on that 1.5 plus. And since then, 2014, 15, and 16, the city has made its regular increment payments, annual payments, as should. But remaining still to be paid are years that weren't paid: 2008, 9, 10, 11, 12, and 13. Which is approximately the 760 you have here. The water and sewer fund owes $339,000 to the general, and I'll be requesting that amount is transferred to the general, and the general can pay the CRA fund that $339,000, and that will be a payment that will leave us about $420, and I'll be asking the city, the commissioners, to start a payment plan to get that paid off before the CRA sunsets in 2022. And then on page 32, our long-term debt is down. You show it at for the wastewater treatment plant, down to $4,506,000. And I just want to mention to everyone, in 2012, that debt service was $28,650,000. It went down in 13 to $22,750,000, down in 2014 to $12,750,000, down in 2015 to $7,712,000, down now as of 2016, September 30, 2016, down to $4,506,000. And then also on that next payment there for one of the MyAMPS treatment plants, we received a new amortization on that early this year, which will show next year. And the payments are now down from the $43,158 biannually to $18,688. And that's going to save us an annual $48,940, basically $49,000 annually for the rest of that payoff, which is very good for our water and sewer department. Then on 33, you mentioned that the city has unearned airport hangar as of September 30th, unearned airport hangar rent totaling $6,650, and that has increased. We have one aircraft owner out there. Rent wasn't being collected for years, and we've been able to find out who the name of that person is and their contact information, and they have been billed, and we're starting collections, and that is now up to $9,000. So we're back in. So we're working diligently now to collect that. I just wanted to ask you now. Last year, we discussed our new credit card procedures that Miranda put into place, and you said that would drop this finding off, but we still have the finding.
Yeah, basically, by the time we talked about it, so much time had passed. We were addressing that time period that was still, now for next year, will drop off.
Okay. And you say we should collect sales tax. Should we collect that on our rental properties? Is that like the hangar rent?
Yeah, anytime you have property, obviously commercial property, you have to collect rent. Airplane hangars, I don't know the answer for sure. My gut says yes.
Okay.
Knowing Department of Revenue.
Okay, then you talk about one of the findings, lack of documentation regarding the contract for services that we're paying salaries from the CRA, a portion of salaries for administrative services and road department services. And you want a documented methodology. What is that? What do you?
So basically, if you'll recall, we talked about having timesheets.
Okay.
So city staff would basically, if they're working in the CRA, they're tracking their time, so time can be allocated. They're signing off on the timesheet, a supervisor signing off on the timesheet. So we have historical information to basically back up what we're charging.
Okay. All right. Thank you. And then some findings that have dropped off now. We had approved leave that wasn't being managed quite right. Now that's all being managed. Fuel inventory wasn't being tracked for several years, and that fuel inventory, aircraft fuel inventory, is now being tracked. And the airport was having over expenditures, and they've got a budget now, which the airport never had a budget, and that was established. We put that in this fiscal year, and then they're working on a budget for next fiscal year as well. And then, let's see, I believe that's all I have. There were just water and sewer over expenditures, but they've got that under control now as well, this year anyway. And we did dissolve our port and airport authority. So the city of Carrabelle is the owner-operator of the airport, with Ms. Courtney is the manager of the airport, under the guidance of our airport advisory. Does anyone in the audience have questions for Mr. Payne? Okay, well then we thank you for coming down. Oh, I do. I have more questions. Sorry. These don't pertain to the financial statement necessarily. They're more general. I mentioned to you about we have a general renewal and replacement account. That's not the water and sewer renewal and replacement account. It holds about close to $36,000. There was an insurance reimbursement for playground equipment that burned. Can that be set aside for replacement of that playground equipment while they're doing fundraising? Okay. Can it remain in that renewal and replacement account, or should we name that another account, or put it in a CD?
I would probably rename it.
Okay. Okay. Then the salary and insurance cost of the Water and Sewer Commissioner, can that be charged to the Water and Sewer budget, like have salaries for administrators?
If that commissioner's time is being devoted toward that fund, yes.
Okay. And then we're working and planning on building a new city hall. And right now, I have guesstimated with the assistance of the finance clerk, the square footage that will be used for water sewer operations, about close to 1,000 square feet, not quite. Can that portion at the price per square foot, once it comes out, be used from the water and sewer budget?
So what would happen basically is would capitalize the asset, it would probably allocate the depreciation to the general fund, water sewer fund, based upon how it's being used.
Okay, and then that would include the parking lot, a portion of the parking lot as well, which I don't know what that's going to cost at this point. Okay. Thank you, sir, very much. I appreciate it.
My pleasure.
I have a question. Does your dad still make that fine cane syrup?
Yes, he does. Medard, Florida, Payne's cane syrup.
I need to come see you. You put that stuff on some vanilla ice cream.
All right, then. Any more comments or anything? Okay, he's gone now. He won't be back for another year. Public comment. Is there any public comment? Okay, Ms. Shirley Cox, please come up and speak into the microphone. We know you know how to do that. Yeah, no, you're not.
There we go.
Okay.
Good evening. The reason I'm here today is everyone knows we have new telephone poles in the city and these nice LED lights. Well, I live right on the corner of 7th, Southeast 7th and Southeast F. And right there in that corner is my house and I think it's like 200 feet tall pole with that LED light that shines right into my 2 front bedroom windows. You can't sleep, even with dark curtains. I called Duke Energy, and they said they would have someone come out and assess the problem. And we said, all we need is a $10 piece of metal to put on the back to kind of block the light. And they said that since it's the city's property and the city that wanted the new poles, they were going to have to contact the city commissioners. Well, I'm going one step ahead. I'm here. And I hope you can take care of it as soon as possible.
Well, thank you for letting us know. And this is the first we've heard of it, Ms. Shirley.
We've been dealing with it, but it's just not working. Yeah,
we didn't know. Thank you for trying to manage it.
Another issue is some people are interested in one of the items on the new business. Is this the only opportunity they will have for public comment, or can they ask questions then?
Yes, ma'am. When we have that item.
Okay, thank you.
So what we'll do, we'll ask Ms. Courtney to contact Mr. Collins or someone with Duke Energy.
They will put a guard over it, or if you want it removed, I have one that I've had to have removed. The owner didn't want it in front of his house, so they will remove it or they'll put a guard over it. I'll give them a call.
It might take a couple of days or so. No.
They've been working on the other one for about 3 weeks, but they've assured me that it's on the list to be done, and they've actually, the owner's seen them out there assessing it, but it hasn't been done yet, so it could take 3 to 4 weeks, but I'll get that started.
We don't have to pick them.
No.
All right. Any other public comment? Okay. Then we'll move on to commissioners' reports. And Commissioner Walden.
Nothing tonight, ma'am.
Okay. And Commissioner Mathis.
I have none.
All righty. And Commissioner Massey?
I don't have anything.
All right. And Commissioner Allen?
I have a couple of things.
Okay.
First of all, you know that we've been working on the triangle down at where the boat ramp is. There will be this coming Tuesday, at 10 o'clock, a groundbreaking event. Now, it looks like they've already started breaking ground down there, but this will be an official, and everybody is welcome to come down and take a part of it, and we're looking forward to seeing all of you. This is going to be a big project for us, and it's going to really relieve the problem. One of the other things, too, is that Tamara and I went down to Newport Richey just last month to attend the funeral service for Walter Matthey. Mallet. And your name is Rose. Yeah. The reason he and his twin brothers were born in Carrabelle many years ago, and they were very much of a part of our community for those times. The two boys worked and paid for their food and all by doing shoe shines out at Camp Gordon Johnson. And we have their shoe shine kit, and also Mr. Mallet, the older fellow, sent them boxing gloves. He's sort of a mail order thing when he was overseas. So all the local kids would get together and have boxing matches. So those are some parts of the history of Carrabelle that we're real proud of, and we hate to see him go, but he was very old and having a lot of difficulties. And they visited with us regularly. They also visited up at Camp Gordon Johnson, and I think they were quite active in the work out there, weren't they, Dave? Yeah, and he's a number of awards, including a Silver Star and a Purple Heart. He was injured when a bomb hit the Ticonderoga, and I think that was, where was that? I always thought it was Pearl Harbor, but it was somewhere else. Yeah, okay. But they're just real fine people, and we hate to lose them, but their contribution to Carrabelle was much. And so we just felt like that we could go down and at least have somebody from Carrabelle to sit in and shake hands and let our attention be known. And they seemed to really appreciate it. They could not understand why we would drive that far for that, but we just loved them that much, and they're just fine people. One other thing, too, coming up on September 5th is our election, and I wanted to remind you that early voting starts on August the 28th and goes through September 2nd. Among our visitors tonight, we're the incumbents, Olivia and myself, and I think that means we're encumbered with all kinds of problems. But forget that. But we have two others that are wanting our seats, and we have them here tonight. And I'd like Tony Millender to stand up, please.
Thank you.
And Bert Worthy. There he is. Okay. And this is every 4 years we have the musical chairs, so we hope we'll have a good race and get a lot of good information, and we'll conduct it above board and the way it should be done, okay? And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. All right. Yes, Ms. Kelly.
Thank you.
Is this under public comment?
It's a follow-up on something Cal said about Walter Mallet.
Oh, okay, very
I
good.
wanted to advise the commission, because none of you were present at the time, but I'm sorry. None of you were commissioners and present at the time, but when I served as mayor in the original City Hall, they used the City Hall to record the memories of World War II veterans who were in the area. I think, David, wasn't it FSU? FSU prepared a program, and so that is available to you. And I will tell you a very personal story which means a lot to me. I happened to, Mr. Mallet, the recording was done in what's now the museum library, that side room, if you can picture that, those of you who have been there. And Mr. Mallet came out of the room, and he had been in there quite a bit longer than others had been. And he came out into the hall, and I happened to come out into the hall at the same time. And the tears were running down his face. I will never forget it. And he couldn't speak. He was so moved and shaken by the opportunity to tell his stories that he had never shared with anyone. And it is one of the most special memories of Carrabelle and of that building that I will ever experience. And I wanted you all to know about it because if you have the opportunity to find that program from FSU, look for it because it is a marvelous tribute to many of the veterans who served, but especially to Mr. Mallett, who, those of you who did not know him, he was very tall and very erect and soldier-like. And to see him standing in tears. And I shared with him that my father had been in the South Pacific as a Marine. And so we hugged for quite a while because it just seemed like the right thing to do. But I wanted to share that personal story with you because I was very sorry to lose Mr. Mallett. He was a special part of Carrabelle, and I hope you will all remember him in your prayers tonight. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there any more comment? All right, then, the mayor's report. And of course, I always have a report, and I'll try to move through it swiftly. On July the 11th, I met with Keith and Charlie. They're our water and sewer department supervisors out of the wastewater treatment plant to review some upcoming budget items and requests for their water and sewer department budget next fiscal year. And then they did provide me with a tour of the wastewater treatment plant. I always enjoy that. On July the 13th, I attended a civic leadership training sponsored by the Florida League of Cities. Speakers were Senator Oscar Branyan, Representatives Danny Burgess, Kristen Jacobs, and Mayors Jack Sealer and Leslie Walters. And there were also 4 communications social media specialists, one being Ron Sachs from Tallahassee. And Mr. Sachs strongly urged that if you have a CRA, you must promptly make that CRA bulletproof and in compliance, which is what we're working on diligently now. On July the 17th, at the request of Mr. Claude Walker, attorney for Mr. Rick Kearney, I met with him and Ms. Monique Ellsworth, the executive director of the Kearney Center in Tallahassee. The meeting was very brief, about 10 minutes. Discussion included allowable uses in the C1 downtown district as outlined by the city's LDR. Courtney sat in and answered his couple of FEMA zone questions, and I was asked about my vision for the Georgian Hotel location, that Georgian Motel location. And I replied that I would like to see some commercial business there that's compatible with our LDR and a business that would help with our economic development in the downtown district. On July 19th, Courtney and I met again with Mayor Lynn from the DOC to review 2 contracts between the city and the DOC that allows the city's non-DC certified inmate supervisors to manage inmate crews. And then we also followed up on previous discussions regarding non-compliance issues that we discussed in detail at our last commission meeting. On July the 20th, David Butler, Courtney, and I met with Mr. Roy Baker, Business Development Coordinator with Opportunity Florida at the, I'm calling it, as Courtney suggested, the Carrabelle Industrial Building. Mr. Butler, our EDC chair, arranged for Mr. Baker to tour the building, and he will assist us with marketing the building through Opportunity Florida. And Mr. Butler is assembling some building specs now that should be included with the advertising on websites like the Opportunity Department of Economic Opportunity aviation sites, and even the city's own website. We need to put that in there. We had a great participation in the Sea Quarters Youth Fishing Tournament. There were a lot of happy youngsters and proud parents. It was a great day. Then I met with Cherie Wood of Centennial Bank with Courtney, Keisha, and Miranda to begin work on the actual loan application documents for construction of the new City Hall building. And we'll discuss that further under that particular agenda item. And then on the 26th, Courtney and I met with the FWC office with Captain Charlie Wood and Fonda Davis and Caitlin Good to plan the installation day for bear-resistant latch systems on garbage cans in our community. Commissioner Walden and I will be 2 of the 10 volunteers that we have scheduled If anyone else would like to volunteer, let me know. I'm trying to get a good list. Courtney's going to talk more about the details. Then on July the 29th, we had a great crab cake cook-off. Miss Kathleen Ormond organized that at Harry's Bar. It was a good fundraiser. I don't know exactly how much was earned. Can you report that? $1,132. And there
A
were
lot of people there.
Yeah, there were 7 crab cake styles. It was delicious. Thank you very much. Yesterday, I attended a special TDC committee meeting with the vendors for the TDC. This year, coming up fiscal year, we'll have an additional $50,000 that we're going to put towards promotions. And we discussed promoting the charter fishing business and all of our fine music venues throughout Franklin County. And we've got several fine charter fishing businesses here in Carrabelle and a couple of fine music venues. And we'll be discussing that further at our regular TDC board meeting where we can vote on that. And then I just want to say that we're working on those signs for streets and roads that we talked, but the west gate entrance still needs to be repaired. It won't close. It's kind of hanging open about 2.5 feet. We've got a lot of vandalism going on at Tilly Miller Park and the restrooms. It's going on usually in the late afternoons, and this is an item that we'll need to address going forward. And then there's some vandalism going on in the bioretention cell down at the rain garden down at the boat ramp. Teenagers are riding their bicycle inside there, which is not a good thing. Then another issue that we need to start taking a look at is the unkempt landscaping on the east side of Carrabelle along Highway 98. The city has signed a JPA, Joint Participation Agreement, with the FDOT, who funded that landscaping. And that agreement states that the city will maintain that area, but they also require that work crews that are out on Highway 98 to have at least one person that's maintenance and traffic certified. And we've been working on, with the Florida Safety Council, trying to schedule a class for at least one of our streets and roads people to get MOT certified. We need to figure out how we're going to get this in our budget and get that maintained out there. It's a little bit shabby looking coming in from the east side. And then I just want to remind you all that on August the 21st at 2:41 p.m. we're going to have a total eclipse of the sun. And that's all I have to say. Yes, ma'am.
I don't mean anything, I'm so sorry. A couple of things I wanted to say. I wanted you all to know that there were 252 children at the Sea Quarters fishing tournament, which was a record. And the farthest one they discovered came from Tennessee. So it is far from a local tournament and brings a lot of people here. Children come with parents. So that was really important. Lois?
There was a child from Montana.
Yeah. I wanted to mention that also. I don't think you got a chance to mention that the $1,100 that was raised was for the Carrabelle, the lighthouse, the ship that burned, we're sorry to say, and that we're trying very desperately hard to replace because it was such a special thing for children. So thank you for those of you who contributed, and please do continue to contribute. I'm sorry, but thank you so much. I was so proud of the fishing tournament, I just had to brag about it.
Okay, we'll move on with now to staff reports. Mr. Russell Large with the note here. Please, sir.
All right, thank you. To update you on our projects, the Avenue B project, we will have a community awareness meeting August the 8th, this Tuesday, from 5 to 7 p.m.
That will be right here at City Hall.
Yes, right here at City Hall, that's correct. All right, and the second item on our FDOT Small Communities Outreach Municipalities grant that was approved. We provided some information to Myra Suggs at DOT, and we understand she's preparing the agreement. She indicated it would be executed within the month of August. And thirdly, on Sands Park, we have some movement on that project. C.W. Roberts provided us a price for the multi-use path and the parking area improvements. In fact, I've got the contracts in the chair, and I'll be with Courtney afterwards and see if I can get those executed. They indicated they could begin work in 2 to 3 weeks. Also, Bond Construction is providing a price for the fishing dock, and I met with them 2 weeks ago. I see there's an agenda item for the City Hall, so I'll reserve comment until that item. And then on the Water Management District grant for Lighthouse Estates, sewer funding is awarded. We have scheduled for design to be complete for the sewer portion of that in March of 2018. And then for the water side of that project, we submitted the grant application through the FDEP Restore Act portal, so that decision on funding is pending. And I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Does anyone have questions for Mr. Large? Okay, then I just wanted to mention, remind folks that this Small Communities Outreach grant is for the Keogh's Landing area with stormwater management and paving.
That's correct.
4 streets out there.
That's right.
Badly needs it. And that will be in the fiscal year, like you say, 2018. It probably won't really, the way grants go, be next year before it starts, probably springtime. And then I'm glad to see that there's going to be some movement on Sands Park. That was a grant, FERDAP grant. Is that, I can't even remember, it's been so long.
That's right, it's for that grant.
Okay, awarded October of 2015, finally. There's going to be, they're going to start working on that. Okay, and no more questions for Mr. Large? All right, thank you very much. Then we'll move on to the Waterfront Partnership report.
I want to start out by saying hello to everybody, and it's my pleasure again tonight to be able to give you our monthly update from the Carrabelle Waterfront Partnership. I do apologize for not getting this report to you before today's meeting, because I know some of you really like to study it, and it makes it very difficult when I bring it with me, so I'll continue to attempt to do better on that. I'm just going to go through and give you some of the highlights of things that are going on. And one of the next things coming up that we want to be sure you all get on your calendar is the International Coastal Cleanup, which is happening September, on that wonderful day in September, which I once again left off of the calendar. Anybody remember the date?
It says September 8th, is that not right?
Well, that says 8:30 to 11, so I took, it's the 16th, I think. Is that a Saturday? I don't know.
Go ahead, I'll look on my
Anyway,
calendar.
I'm sure I have it on my calendar too, but I left that off. Okay.
Yes, that's a Saturday.
It's the 16th. I'm pretty sure.
September
Sorry.
16th.
The what?
September 16th.
Okay. September 16th, sorry. Just a complete slip there. And we're gathering both at the Marine Street Pavilion like usual, and also at the beach for those of you that live on that side of town. I want to skip down to the historical preservation part of our efforts. And I think it's confusing for a lot of people that we're actually, the city of Carrabelle is working on 3 different historical preservation grants for Old City Hall. Last Monday, we finished phase 3. We have now gotten and completed and turned in all the reports for the 3rd phase of the renovation of Old City Hall. And for those of you that have stopped by and looked behind the building, there is an enormous set of metal stairs. And so a lot of people are saying, why do we need such a large set of stairs? And I guess I would just like to be sure that you all understand that, so that when people ask you, you can tell them. And anything that you do with government money has to be done in accordance with the Florida Building Code. And the building, the old City Hall building, could not be renovated on the second floor until we had an appropriate stair for egress out of the second floor. Now, the reason that one is so big is because the one inside the building is so small. And we don't have room inside the building to build a stair that meets the life safety code for the state of Florida, nor the ADA requirements, either one. So in order to have that building be compliant, particularly what they call the life safety code, they had to be as wide as they are, as deep as they are, and have the rails and the whole thing. So it does look like, it looks like the building won't blow away because the stairs are going to hold it down. And, which the building's not going to blow away because Mr. Justice did such a fabulous job on it. But that stair is as large as it is, and it was the engineers and the architects who worked for the state of Florida who insisted that it had to be those dimensions, because they only fund projects that meet the Department of Interior standards. And so that's the answer to why is it so big. Now, if we'd have had a compliant stair inside the building, it could have been smaller and maybe even a little spiral or something, but that's the answer to that question, because I know you had people ask you, because I've had people ask me. We were very grateful for the assistance of the city in preparing the site, because we had to remove septic tanks that were left there back years ago when the septic tanks were all demolished. Those still stayed there, so we had to get those out so that we could put in the foundation that holds the metal stair. Okay, so that was phase 3. The city is currently been funded for phase 4. As of July 1st, we became eligible. We're negotiating a contract with the state. The city, I'm not negotiating anything. We're helping them draft the contract. They have it's a typical state contract. And the scope of what they had drafted put a semicolon in the wrong place and had us doing all kinds of things in the bathroom that were meant for the entire floor. So that's being corrected, and at the point that it's corrected, then it will be submitted to the city for review and signing, so that we can begin advertising for the work and proceed with the repairing the restroom, replacing the antique wiring, and beginning to do some of the woodwork and plaster work upstairs. So that's the one that's coming up that'll be started before Christmas. Anybody have any questions about those two grants? And then this all goes on simultaneously. We just, back 5 months ago, 6 months ago, we had submitted phase 5, which is to finish all the details of upstairs, everything but an elevator. And that we had to go to Tallahassee last week and answer questions about that phase. And we ranked remarkably high. Out of 81, we got way up at 24, which is a very good rating considering the whole state and what we competed against, what Little Carrabelle competes against Miami and other major cities to get these grants. And so they get the same $50,000 that we get. So I think it's pretty wonderful in that sense. So that will be phase 5, but that won't start till a year from now. So it's confusing, I know, but we do have the 3, and Miranda has been wonderful to work with, and Courtney, about the different, we've had an unusual amount of little issues come up about these stairs, and so I think that we've been able to work them through, and we got a certificate of occupancy from the county, so we can now officially use the stairs. And we won't need to until we start working on the other things. Okay, and then the other real important thing, as I had mentioned to you all before, I was appointed to a review committee by the Appalachia Regional Planning Council to review this is the 10-year update of the economic development plan for this region. And David Butler's on that group, I'm on it, and Mark Currington, and we have made input into different aspects of the work, and we had worked with the guy there at ARPC to tell him, I feel like more people in Franklin County need to be involved in this, looking at and commenting on this plan. So he has agreed to send out a survey that I can then send on to all of the people in Carrabelle that would like to fill it out. And this was the plan that I wanted to see if you all had any other ideas. I would suggest that we send it to the EDC, the Airport Advisory Group, Waterfront Group, Chamber of Commerce, and to the commissioners, of course. And I guess I can send it to any other list of names that we have. I mean, I'll have to work with Courtney and Keisha to get those lists, but I'm sure they've got emails for as many of us people. So it's an online, it's a 10-minute survey. Online, what they call a Survey Monkey, and everybody fills it in and it goes back and then gets put in. So I felt like it was a great opportunity to be sure that we had a strong presence in that plan. For example, the last 10-year plan doesn't even say we have an airport, just as an example.
What about the P&Z board?
P&Z board, okay.
And then are you just concentrating on boards in the
Well,
Carrabelle?
I was wanting to be...
Since you do you're looking at the whole county and plan for the whole county, right?
Well, I was thinking I was representing Carrabelle, but you're right. I mean, we could work with Mark to see or work with the city of Appalachia.
What about the county P&Z? If it's economic development for the entire county, and I don't know, would tourist development, tourist is a major part of our economy.
Well, and that certainly we can ask them. The main thing, and the reason I wanted to make a big point about this tonight, it's going to be one of those things, I can send it out to all these people, but they'll only be accepting comments like for 2 weeks. So it's going to be a real short turnaround. And for anybody that is not, doesn't have computer access, I'm sure you could come over here, or you could come to the History Museum, and I'd be glad to help you put it in for yourself, not into ours, but get on and register. It's very simple. It doesn't require a lot of efforts, but they do want to talk about the strengths and weaknesses of the economic aspect of the county, and particularly I'm going to talk about Carrabelle. So, okay, so we can work with Mark on the county part, and maybe Appalachia. Okay.
Miss Brenda Ash sits on the ARPC regular committee.
Mm-hmm.
You might contact her.
See how
I'm sure they're talking about that at the meetings.
Mm-hmm. Okay, P&Z. So I'll be getting with you guys about the simplest way to send this on forward. Okay. I do think it's important, it would be a shame if regional decisions got made and they really didn't reflect Carrabelle and Franklin County correctly, and plus he's looking at ways to help us find funding for whatever we put in there. So I think that's another help that the ARPC can do. Okay, that's all I had. Anybody have anything else? Okay. Thank you all so much.
Any questions for Ms. Tamara? Commissioners?
Mr.
All right then, thank you.
Mr. David,
Mr. David? Good.
do you have a question for me, or you got it's your turn?
Well, just add on to what you're saying.
But, okay.
Yeah, I attended the meeting with the Appalachia Regional Planning Council, and I had 2 new DEO representatives that were there, and I apologize to them because I have the same mantra that whenever we talk about getting jobs and people to move in, we have all of this Enterprise Florida, Florida's Great Northwest, and we have this database. They're interested in buildings over 50,000 square feet and jobs over 100. And I asked them again, where are all those leads that fall below that? Where do they go? Somebody has contacts, and I don't care if you throw it up on the bulletin board so everybody in Florida that's rural can go look, get an address, and contact somebody. And I talked to the speaker there called us up, called me up and talked about the survey and so forth. And I told him I wouldn't be at the meeting tomorrow. It's going to be at lunchtime. I said, but remember the comments I made at the meeting, and I would hope that the senator there would understand that they're spending a lot of money in economic development, but there's a lot of crumbs that are falling through the cracks that some of us, a little bit of jobs would make a big impact here. And I still have not been able to crack that nut.
I'm going to that meeting tomorrow.
And you will speak up.
Mumford and West Allen will be there.
Well, give him, the youngster, a chance to talk first, but if he doesn't, point that out. And the other thing with the seeds, with the Comprehensive Economic Development Strategy, it's a 5-year plan that if you don't put something in there and then you come up with a good idea, then people look at it from the planning and financing part that you just came up with something. Anything that you think may work in this area in the county, we need to be putting it in as an initiative. Because then when you have the money, you've already done your planning and said this is what we're trying to do. Whether you're trying to expand the airport or dredge or whatever.
Expand our music revenues, whatever. Music. Can't think right now.
Entertainment.
Yeah.
But
Venues.
Venues.
Thank you.
But as an example,
Charter fishing.
RVs are expanding right now in the county. We don't have an RV repair place. We would state that we need, there's a need for that at the rural area, people traveling through the area. Then if transportation money came available and they could give us some kind of incentive, that we'd already have that plan. We were trying to do that. But it's hard to do. We just don't have that much land and we don't have that much workforce to do it.
All right, do you have an EDC, Economic Development Council report, since you're
Yep,
here, it's your time?
We just meet quarterly, but I did talk with Bo May about the downtown and initiatives for cleaning up and doing what we can to make all of Carrabelle look like it's open, even though we do have a lot of closed. I look at it as opportunities. We have a lot of buildings and offices that are waiting on somebody to come and occupy and do something. And I did find my list of that, and I was updating the ones that now are filled, and of course the ones that are still available, and others that are closed. So,
Do you have anything further you want to report with the meeting with Mr. Roy Baker out at the Carrabelle Industrial Building from the fellow from Opportunity, Florida?
Well, just that he's done a lot of development in the Marietta area, being closer to Alabama. He's familiar with larger tracts of land and putting together the surrounding impact. If there's going to be an automobile plant put in Alabama, they're going to have providers for that plant located within that county. Again, we're so far away from those things, it doesn't make that type of impact to us. But we have buildings here large enough that somebody can find something to put in here. But he is looking for us. He's now seen us down here and what type we have. So he'll keep that on his radar.
Then we need to get someone from the DEO here as well.
From the,
Like Department of Economic Opportunity. We need to get one of those fellows here. Or females.
you talking about DEO?
Yes, sir.
I don't want them here. I want at the meeting that, someone to identify whenever they contact DEO about getting state incentives for them to move their business here, and they fall short of their criteria of getting special incentives. I would like to talk to them about, we have relatively inexpensive space for renting or buying down here. If they're in a business they can do anywhere in the world or anywhere in the U.S., why not do it here where we have the playground, if you will? In place, people work all their lives to save money so they can afford to come down here and live. But most of you live here already and don't have to do that. But reaching them and getting them to realize what we've got is the problem. So somehow make that point that there's got to be some information that's not flowing down to the RACIC and to the Opportunity Florida.
Thank you. Do you all have any questions for Mr. Butler? Does anyone have questions? Okay, Mr. Sullivan of the Carport Aviation Advisory Board.
Good evening. Did you get my notes here? Just to go briefly over the projects we've got going on, I've been working with Charlie Painter to get the generator over at Lanark to see if it's feasible to put over the airport. It looks like he's going to help me get it, a couple of contractors so we get some prices on it and then get it moved over to the airport. Hangar renovations, the doors were delivered this afternoon. The frames of the doors were delivered this afternoon. The rest should be coming in next week, and the installation will begin August 21st, and that'll be the end of that project once the doors are installed. The new hangar, we've had a lot of problems trying to fit the hangar into the budget. We finally worked it out with Cathy Construction to put a 2-stall hangar in. He's ready to start the groundwork. He's ordered the building. There's a back date on the delivery of the building. It'll be sometime late November or December. But he'll have the ground prepped and ready to go for when it comes in. I've had a few meetings with FDOT and Kimley Horn. I didn't mention last month that when we hired on Kimley Horn, it was right at the deadline of the 5-year plan. I met with them the next day after the commission meeting on the 21st, and we were able to get our priority list and our 5-year plan in before the deadline. And that gave us 5 years planning. We were right on the verge of losing.
Had we not been able to hire them at that point,
we wouldn't have met the 5-year plan. So that would have set us back quite a few years to catch up with it. We met with FDOT about the master plan. There wasn't a copy of the master plan, and finally FDOT found one. It was 1991, which is supposed to be done no more than every 20 years. So it's well past due. We need a new one anyways, and that'll be one of the last things we need to get into the national FAA program for funding airports. But then again, Courtney and I and Miranda met with FDOT and Kimley Horn and went over all the JPA accounting and making sure that everything we're all working on the same sheet of music there, and we're right where we need to be with all the JPAs. William Massey was able to get the county to help build a bridge where we put a temporary bridge up during the fly-in and found out it was a really good idea to have it there. So we bought a culvert, and William Massey and his crew from the county came in and put the bridge in for us. Our last meeting was July 17th. We went over the budget just to see where we were at. This is our first go at it. Want to see it, how we've done in the last 6-8 months. And everything is pretty much on track with what we had estimated. We did have unforeseen expenses. The culvert for one, bridge. The gate repair, fuel system repair was over $3,000, and that was really unexpected. because the system had sat for so long, a lot of the mechanism decided didn't work, so there was a lot of replacement stuff that we had to do to it. We were short on the hangar revenue. We planned on having that new hangar built by January, but because the building didn't fit the budget, and we wanted to try to find a way to fit the building to the budget without having to go through the permitting and re-engineering of it. So it took us a while to get that all straight, but that was money that we had counted on and didn't come in. And then we had the initial fuel purchase, and that was over $8,000, and the tank was empty, and there were no funds from previous sales, so we had to come up with that money, and that's the initial investment, but it'll take a long time to recover that. It'll take years to recover. And then we got the opportunity to get the electric car from the water department, and it needed some batteries and some repairs. There were 6 batteries put in, and minor repairs done to it, but we've been using it. We used it quite a bit. We used it for the fly-in, and we've been using it as a courtesy car. As far as revenues go, all the hangars are rented. Everybody's up to date on payment except for one. The city's working on that. We had the sales of the trees, $12,000, and a lot of that helped us offset the unforeseen expenses. And the TDC, we had the $10,000 grant for the fly-in, and of course all those funds were dedicated to promoting the airport. So as it stands right now, we're about $3,000 over budget, but we're expecting $6,300 in hang rent before the end of the fiscal year. And so for the fiscal year 2016-2017, if all goes according to the way we're going so far, the airport will have paid all its bills and be self-sufficient, and there won't be any expense from the city.
And that's a good thing, because I believe that it was running to operate the airport with everything that it cost out there. It was running somewhere around $12,000 to $15,000 annually out of the general fund.
Out of the general fund, right.
So that's taken that, I mean, it seems like a little bit of money out of the general fund, but every $10,000 helps when you only make about $950,000 in ad valorem tax. So that helps, and it's a good thing for airports to be financially self-sufficient.
When you take the FDOT money or FAA money, you do it with the understanding that that airport will become self-sufficient. That's what that money is why they give us that money, is to get it to the point where it will sustain itself.
And I just wanted to kind of make it a little clear, when you talk about to fit the new hangar to the budget, you had so much funded from FDOT to build that hangar, and you were having a hard time getting a quote that was the price of the funding that you had.
Right, and we ran into that with most of the projects, that the amount estimated for the cost of the project was a lot less than what the project would actually cost. So we had to juggle some things around that.
Okay, and then I'm just going to bring this up. One little tiny postcard, which Mr. Sullivan helped with the wording, and I did a little design. Our county commissioner, and our streets and road supervisor went to Washington, to the White House, with all the county commissioners from the state of Florida. And we sent 8 postcards like this from Mr. William, and one of them made it to the pocket of Mr. Neil Dunn, and he's going to come over and see us. Mr. Sullivan and I are working on a presentation now for him to try to help us get the Aviation Advisory Board, get the airport and the National Plan of Integrated Airport Systems, FAA, which would give the airport about $150,000 a year to do projects.
Just as a minimum, and
Yes.
there's plenty more behind it, but they're not discussion.
So we're working on seeing Mr. Neil Dunn in this next month here. Okay. Do y'all have questions for Mr. Sullivan?
No, but I want to thank you for the job you've done out there. You, the mayor, Mr. Bryant, Mr. Worthy. He's been out there for a lot. I want to thank all y'all.
And I'll tell you, we have excellent help from Courtney and Miranda, and appreciate it. Excellent. It's really helped us move along. Thanks.
Miranda does a lot of work on Courtney. She's the designated airport manager. Any questions? Anyone else? Okay. All right. Thank you, Mr. Sullivan. Okay. So finally, Mr. Hartman, do you have anything for us?
I don't until we go later on the agenda.
Okay. Thank you, sir. And then Ms. Courtney.
I have a couple of things. I think most of these y'all went over already, but I'll quickly go over them again. The groundbreaking for the Marine Street parking lot, Tuesday, August 8th, 10 o'clock. Everyone's invited. The no trespass signs for streets and roads gate entrance that were ordered during last month's meeting have came in. One is posted on the east entrance to the street and road yard. The west entrance is under repair, so when we get that fixed, we'll post the other one on the west side. On July 26th, the mayor and I met with the FWC on the human bear conflict meeting. The city, FWC, and Waste Pro are partnering to install bear-resistant latch systems on 100 sturdy cans. And I say sturdy cans because if you bring in a flimsy can, they can't put the latch on there. The FWC is funding the retrofit kits. Waste Pro will not charge for the additional fee to handle these latch systems, and as the in-kind match, Carrabelle volunteers will install the systems on Saturday, August the 12th, from 8 a.m. to 12 noon at the Carrabelle Firehouse in Messer Pavilion. So if you bring your cans out, we'll install the latch on them. So everybody bring your cans.
Oh, I meant to show, sorry, here's our little poster here that we put around in conspicuous areas and posted on Facebook, and there's actually a large article about it in this paper that came out today.
If we have leftover latches that don't get installed on a Saturday, we're probably going to have you, if you're interested and you can't bring your can in, if you'll call and be put on a list, then we can send volunteers to you to put them on the cans. But that we'll see what we have left over after we have our thing on the 12th.
I thought they said they could pick them up too. It's been so long since they said we was going to get them.
No, well, we
They
did
can't
have
pick
some
them up?
here at City Hall. We had some latch kits, and we'll still have those available if we have leftovers.
Because it's summertime, a lot of people's not going to bring their garbage can in.
So see how it goes now. What they're going to do in East Point is tell them.
What they do in East Point is they're doing Wilderness Road and Ridge Road. And the county road department goes up and down the roads and they install them on the cans.
And they did that in Lanark already,
Okay.
on the cans that are set out. If it's a private can, they knock on the door and get permission. And they've had one complaint, they went back to that latch off.
But if we have latches left over, they will be available to pick up here at City Hall, or like I said, you could call and get on a list.
Yeah,
and we'll
that's what
send
I was
people around.
wondering if they was going to have it, we're going to have them here to get
We
them.
had a few here, we've gave them all out, so we don't have any right now, but we'll have some more.
And then I believe we're going to go ahead, but we'll have to get approval from the commission maybe next month or so. They've got another grant opening up, and go ahead and get the same grant for next year and do the program again next year.
And then finally, during the month, we had a vacancy in our police department, so we have a full-time police position open. And Chief Huntings and I would like to recommend that we move our part-time officer, Mr. Chris Granger, into a full-time position.
Y'all come on up. This is Officer Chris Granger. I met him on the job the other evening.
Good evening, Commissioners, Mayor. We're here today to ask you to promote Officer Granger to a full-time position. July the 10th, we had one of our officers resign, leaving us with an opening in our force. On July the 24th, we hired Officer Granger in a part-time position. So we're here tonight to ask y'all to move him to a full-time position.
I'll make a motion to hire him full-time.
I'll second.
Okay, then, we have a motion by Commissioner Massey and a second by Commissioner Mathis. Is there any discussion? Any questions for Officer Granger?
Would y'all care for me to give y'all a little bit about his background?
Well, go ahead, give us some
I already
discussion.
know a lot.
But the rest of us don't,
I have a
so.
question.
All right.
You have some very special training, don't you, that we really need? Can you talk about that?
I do that in narcotics.
We'd rather not go over all of that. If you don't mind.
Yeah.
The what?
Classified.
Yeah, okay.
In 2013, he started a career when he went to work for the Franklin County Sheriff's Office as a correction officer. In 2014, in just a year, he was promoted to a sergeant. In 2015, he took his crossover exam where he became a certified law enforcement officer in the state of Florida. He went on the road as a deputy sheriff. In 2017, he was promoted to a detective until he come to work here this month.
And he's from Franklin County also. His mom's from Carrabelle, his dad's from East Point, so he is a minister.
They both attended the night.
All right, a homeboy. Okay, very good. Are there any other questions? Any questions from the audience? Any comments?
I have one question.
Okay, please, sir.
Why put the sheriff's department go to Carrabelle?
Question. I like it over here in Carrabelle, and the insurance is a lot better for my family, and I think it's a good opportunity for me to come over here. So it's a good opportunity.
All right, is there anything else? Okay, so then we have a motion by Commissioner Massey, a second by Commissioner Mathis. Any more discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, then that motion carries, and welcome aboard, Officer Grant. Okay, anything else, Ms. Courtney? Do y'all have any questions for Ms. Courtney? All right, then, Ms. Keisha.
Just want to announce some upcoming meetings. Russell announced the community awareness meeting on August the 8th from 5 to 7, and that'll be on the south or the Northwest Avenue B project. We have our budget hearings coming up. I have submitted the preliminary to be certified, and I'm asking that we have a budget workshop on Monday, August 28th at 5 o'clock. The preliminary budget hearing will be September 13th at 5:01. And then the final budget hearing will be the September 26th at 5:01. So I just want to make sure y'all all have that on your calendars, because those are very important meetings. So again, it'll be a budget workshop on August 28th.
Are you sure now for the 28th? That'll give us some time if we need to have an additional workshop.
Do what?
August 28th, if we need to have an additional workshop, will that give us some time?
Yeah, that'll give us plenty of time. That's a couple of weeks there.
That's Monday, August 28th.
The workshop will be no action. We'll just go over everything. The preliminary will be kind of a workshop, but we can make changes. And then the final on the 26th will be our final budget.
And Keisha, what time is that on the?
They're all at 5:01. We can't have them at 5, so we have them at 5:01.
I thought that would be.
The workshop as well? Can that be any time?
Might as well just keep it simple.
Okay. All right, can you all come on August the 28th?
That's a Monday.
Can you all do that?
September the 13th is a Wednesday, and the 26th is a Tuesday.
Yes.
Okay, let's have a motion then for the workshop on August the 28th, 2017.
I'll make the motion, have a meeting August the 28th at 5 o'clock.
All right, is there a second? Okay. And Mr. Walden, second, I heard it from him. So we have a motion by Commissioner Massey, a second by Commissioner Walden. Is there any more discussion for this workshop on the 28th? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? And then that motion carries. Thank you all very much.
Of course, you realize that'll be contingent on us being still being here.
Okay, then I believe the election is September the 5th, is that correct? Okay. All right, then we're going to move on to public hearing. And Mr. Hartman, will you read that resolution for us?
I will. Read by caption, the whereas, and then there is an action plan, but I'll explain that. The resolution 10-2017, a resolution of the City Commission of the City of Carrabelle, Florida, adopting a policy relating to the employment of small, woman-owned and minority businesses for use in administering community development block grants, adopting a policy relating to the employment of minorities by the City of Carrabelle, providing definitions and defining an action plan, and providing an effective date. Whereas the City Commission of the City of Carrabelle desires to establish a policy supporting small, women-owned, and minority businesses, and whereas the City Commission of the City of Carrabelle recognizes an opportunity to affirmatively support small, women-owned, and minority businesses and those programs directly funded by the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, and whereas the City Commission of the City of Carrabelle desires to bring the percentage of minorities employed by the city more closely in line with its percentage of minorities who live in the city, and whereas the City Commission of the City of Carrabelle recognizes the need to adopt an action plan to implement those goals, whereas the City Commission of the City of Carrabelle recognizes the city as an equal opportunity employer, and now therefore be it resolved by the Board of City Commission of the City of Carrabelle, Florida, as follows. And what follows is the action plan, sections 1 through 5, and what it does is obviously sets forth the action plan to implement those policy procedures when we are dealing with community development block grants, which is the promotion of minority participation, women-owned business participation, and small business. I believe this one's required just so that we can continue to utilize the community development block grant program, which has been very useful to us in the past.
And yes, it is. It's required by the CDBG grant. It was one of these resolutions. We had to do several, if you all may remember, to qualify for that $650,000 grant, which we're working on right now. Did qualify. It has been awarded. This one slipped through the cracks, I believe.
We actually approved it already, but they've changed it and added the women.
Okay.
The women-owned businesses, so we had to redo it.
All right, okay then. Are there any questions to Mr. Hartman or Courtney about his resolution? Any questions? Okay, then would we like to entertain a motion for this resolution?
I'll make a motion to approve resolution 10-2017.
Okay. And we have that motion by Commissioner Massey. We have a second. We have a second to approve this resolution? Okay, a second by Commissioner Mathis. Is there any more discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? And that motion carries. Okay, then we're going to move on to new business. Item number 1, discussion and possible action concerning a special exception to allow a mobile home at 107 Southeast 14th Street that's zoned R1.
All right, if I could, before the applicant speaks, we've been having more of these special exceptions coming before the City Commission, which is we are the final deciding body on it. But if I could, let me just read off what a special exception is so that everybody understands.
That's good.
And then I will just read off 2 other provisions of the procedures, just so you understand what you are sitting as a quasi-judicial body, almost like a judge, deciding whether or not to grant a special exception. Is a special exception, this is how we define it here in the city, is a special exception is a use that would not be appropriate generally or without restrictions through the zoning division or district, but which, if controlled as to the number, area, location, or relation to the neighborhood, would promote the public health, safety, welfare, morals, order, comfort, convenience, appearance, prosperity, or general welfare. Such uses may be permitted in such zoning division or district as special exceptions. Special provisions for such special exceptions are made in this ordinance. And we have made such provisions in our ordinance, and those are found in section 11, which there are A through O. Under 11.08.03, there's A through O criteria. The 3 that are, I would point out, when we're dealing with these types of special exceptions, which is basically a use in a specific zoning district, that can only be allowed by special exception. The considerations that you all will be considering when you're voting or making a motion on something like this are that the intended use is compatible with the properties in the neighborhood as outlined in the city comprehensive plan, that there are no substantial detrimental effects to the proposed use. In considering this, the commission should evaluate the impact of the concentration of similar or the same uses on property values in the neighborhood. And then finally, that there are no substantial detrimental effects to the proposed effects related to proposed use. In considering that, you should also evaluate, again, the impact of the concentration of this use on living or working conditions in the neighborhood. So those are the considerations that you want to have in the forefront of your mind, along with the others set forth in our ordinance. And typically the applicant come up and explain what they're applying for, but also staff can go ahead first, and we generally render an opinion on whether they have met the initial application requirements for a special exception, and that would be Keisha on this.
Okay, this first one is 107 Southeast 14th Street, and that's actually right off of 13th Street. It's on the very border, so the 14th Street doesn't exist, but that is their legal address. They are required to send a letter out to all the adjacent property owners or not within 250 feet. They have to prove that by sending registered receipt, certified registered receipt. And I go back and I pull them up myself and cross-reference to make sure that they've sent all their letters out to the adjacent homeowners. We go through a planning and zoning first. You go to a planning and zoning board. In this case, we didn't have a quorum, so we had to bypass the planning and zoning and come straight here. Yes, and then I make sure I check their letters to make sure that it has all the required information of when we're going to meet, and this one does have their cards and the zoning and the land, or the zoning isn't, but the land use is compatible with the area that this mobile home is in place.
I'll make a motion to approve this. There's trailers all around that property.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Massey and a second by Commissioner Mathis. Now we'll have discussion. And I wanted to ask, is the person requesting a special exception, is that person here this evening?
She's not able to make it. Her grandson was ill, so.
Okay, and then Mr. Holcomb, would you please come forward then? And this is for single-family residential mobile home. Yes, okay.
My name is Clifford Holcomb, and I am probably the closest neighbor to where this is going to become my new neighbor. And I wanted to say that these are some of the nicest people that I have ever met. Rita Massey, Tahir, Poti, the Gilberts, everybody in that whole family are some of the nicest people I've met since I've lived here. And it would be a pleasure to have them there. However, when I get confused, I ask questions, and I'm confused tonight. How can somebody get their mail or have packages delivered or get assistance from ambulances or the police or the fire department when their address is on a street that doesn't exist? It just doesn't make logical sense.
Now, is this back there where the Gilberts live?
Yes, ma'am.
Well, is that a platted street?
It is a platted street, and we do not issue 911 addresses. They do happen to own the lot on 13th Street, and that's gonna be their driveway to get to their mobile home. And they're gonna use that address because they'll have a mailbox there to turn in there.
Well, that's why I'm asking.
But I can't help the address that is given to
You know,
them.
I understand, like, I'm 1307 Owens, and I don't, whenever I call 911, or if I call the sheriff's department or police, I tell them my address, and I tell them the nearest cross street. And if their address is legally on 14th Street, and 14th Street doesn't exist,
It does exist. It's
on a
just
plaque,
not.
on a piece
it's
of
just
paper,
not- Yeah, it's just not cut through.
it's physically not there, and it doesn't make logical sense to me. Seems like you just go ahead and make it 13th Street.
I can't do nothing with 911, that's the county.
And 13th Street is there.
Now, they do own that lot, so that, for them, in this situation, they can use a 13th Street address because they have the
Now-
lot on 13th
Now,
Street.
southeast 13th Street comes up from 98, parallel to southeast 12th. It dead ends into East Meridian. However, the street signs on East Meridian say southeast 13th.
That's correct.
So,
All the people that live on that road wasn't getting their UPS or the ambulance, and nobody knew what Meridian was because it's only a half of a block. So for their sake, for the neighbors in the neighborhood, they all requested that we change the road sign, and we did.
no, I was never asked, and actually, nobody lives on that street.
That was before you.
All right.
We have so many streets that are platted that are not in existence, you know, they're just not developed yet at this point in time.
Well, I guess my faith in the lack of logic with government has been reinforced. Thank you.
Sorry.
But other than that, Cliff, you have no objection.
Oh, okay. All right, well, very good. And does anyone have any other comment regarding this special exception to allow a mobile home in an R1 zone on 14th Street, and they will be using 13th Street as their address because they own property there, and they'll be using that as a driveway and their mailbox. Does anyone have any other discussion? Okay, so we have a motion by Commissioner Massey, second by Commissioner Mathis. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? And that motion carries. Okay, so here we go again. We've got item number 2, discussion and possible action concerning a special exception to allow residential use inside a business zoned C1 at 1001 Highway 98 East. And does everyone know where this location is?
This is the Folks Realty building.
Inc. building. Okay, and is the owner of that or the person requesting
This-
a special exception
This
here?
one as well has sent out the letter. They have to send it out, I didn't mention that before, 2 weeks in advance, and if you want to come on up. I went through, checked all his certifieds with his property owner, so he is also in compliance with the steps that we asked them to take.
Did you receive any comments back from the
I did
letters?
not.
Okay, and then this one also was not able to go before the P&Z, is that correct? Ma'am, this one was not able to go P&Z?
No,
not
this,
able to
all
go.
3 of these
Okay.
items were on the P&Z.
Okay, all right. Hello? Okay, good. Jamie Thomas, nice to see you.
Turn the mic on.
Okay. Hammerhead Hunters. Oh, I've seen your sign out on 98.
It was there till the end.
Can you turn your microphone on, Cody?
It was in the right of way, wasn't it?
No, ma'am, it was actually on my property, but they told me I still couldn't have it there because it was a scenic highway.
Ah.
And they wouldn't give me an exception for it, so guess what I did? I went looking for somewhere that's commercial to put my sign. And that's how we've come to where we're at today.
All right, and so then if you put your sign on your property there in front of the pink building, which you might change that color, I don't know, then that's okay with the DOT?
I don't know yet, I'm gonna have to check.
The
before I
big
try
issue
something
is the
like
off-site advertising. As long as you have your business there, you'll be okay.
Yes, ma'am.
But
They try
before
to-
you put a sign up, check our sign codes. We have a pretty thick one as well.
I read it, I made sure before I tried to do anything, and I wanted to come see
Well,
the
I make
council
a
before I
motion to
done
approve it.
Thank you.
So we have a motion by Commissioner Massey. Do we have a second? Okay, so we have a second by Commissioner Walden. And then, is there any discussion? Okay, I do have a couple of questions. And now, you're going to use this to run your charter business?
Yes, ma'am.
Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And then, will you be staying there anytime? Are you from here, or are you living
I
here?
actually live in Liberty County, and I just purchased this, and I have almost 21 years in law enforcement, and I'm fixing to retire, and this is where I'm gonna live.
Okay.
You know, this is where I'm coming to.
All right. And so will you be using this as
I
temporary?
will be using it.
Okay.
I will be using it quite a bit.
For your personal, single-family use?
I will be using it for my personal, yes, ma'am.
Okay. We do have some businesses in the C1 district that use the top for their personal use and their business underneath. And then, and no boat storage, just your own personal charter boats there.
That's it, just my own personal boat.
All right, does anyone else have any questions?
That doesn't really change it to C1.
No, it's still C1.
Does it say an exception too?
He needs the exception to use it as the residential use.
Upstairs.
It's still C1, it's still commercial business, but to use the residential side of it, you have to give a special exception.
And we just allowed the most recent one I can think of is the fellow at Ryan Drive or 11th Street and 98 at the bridge, the FISBO, the two-story. He's operating a business underneath at the bottom part, and which the owner before then did that as well at that location, and then he's living upstairs at the residence. So.
We also have the bed and breakfast right across the street. And I just want to point out, because I think that might be where everybody's getting confused, any business in the commercial, if it's being used for residential use in commercial, it has to have a special exception. That's a bed and breakfast, a motel, anything that has residential overnight staying attached to it has to have a special exception for our commercial district. So I think that might be where the confusion is.
But we've always just allowed the special exception for use just by the business owner, the person who owns that property. That has been our norm for now. Okay, any more discussion? All right, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? And then that motion carries, and welcome to Carrabelle, sir.
Thank you.
Here's your flyer. Thank you. We look forward to seeing you there with your boats. The TDC is getting ready to promote charters. So. All right, item 3, disapprove conceptual site plan for Pam McCreary at the Beach Trader, 1781 Highway 98, and I probably said your name wrong. Okay, all right, use your microphone. Okay. And so Ms. Keisha says that this one was not reviewed by the P&Z. But what do you have to tell us about this one, Ms. Keisha?
This one is an existing business. She is coming for conceptual, and I put just the conceptual just to give you an idea of what she's looking to do. So that's the step we're at now. It's just a hand-drawn map, so that the owner doesn't go into the expense of buying plans and going forward if the idea. So these are going to be RV spaces. It'll be a miniature RV park, basically.
My name is Pam. I've had the Beach Trader in Carrabelle now for 15 years. And a couple years ago, I decided to take out my 401 money and see what I could do with it. And so far, so good. I invested in a piece of property that is doing great, rental piece. But now, I would like to asking for permission to bring in a vintage Airstream vacation rentals. And that would be, the Airstreams would be movable, travelable, but they would be coming to stay in the Airstreams on my property. And that would be behind the beach trader. Really, it's not really visible from the road, but that's what I'm asking to do. I begin with 6, couldn't get more than 6 on there. But I'm going to start with my first 2 and build from there. I have a dream of 5 or 6 on there. And
Do you have one on now?
I have one on there that some family has come and stayed. And, but no, it's not up for rent.
You don't rent it out?
I don't.
So how many Airstreams do you have there now?
Right now, there are 3. One I'm using for a workshop. One is being worked on, and actually there's a total of 4 on that property. 2 are sitting, and 1 is being worked on, and 1 is a workshop.
I remember when you first come to Carrabelle looking for property, I was making tables at the Georgian restaurant. And then you bought it and come back.
I did, yeah. But I've been here 15 years. I
And
just
you've been
love
here
it.
ever since?
Ever
I have
since.
advised Ms. McCreary that she will need to tap into city water and sewer. She is in a flood zone, that these would only be temporary 50 amp power meters and quick disconnect sewer, so that nothing would be allowed to be permanent. So basically, everything would have to be temporary.
And that's what I wanted to ask too. I wanted to make sure that when you bring back your regular plan, your full plan, that you show your water and sewer taps.
Right.
And that these are going to be able to be moved out in the event that you'll have show a way on your plan that they can be evacuated in the event of a hurricane or a flood. That area could flood back there. I know we've seen it flood back in 6, I believe.
Yeah, Hurricane Dennis.
And so is anyone staying in any of these campers right now?
No.
No, okay, because I'm concerned and have had public call me very upset that they're worried about the solid waste disposal, at this point, if anyone's staying there.
I'm on sewer. I'm on sewer. But no, nobody's living back there. Nobody's staying back there.
Okay, so is any long-term residential occupancy planned? It's just going to be vacation rentals, right?
Right. My only long-term would be, I would be asking, I guess, for permission to live in the back part of the store.
You're not doing that now, though, are you, at this point?
No.
Okay. So this would be short-term vacation rentals, and you'll be prepared to pay your sales tax and tourist development tax?
Yes. Yes.
And we do promote RVs parks on the TDC side, so once you get established, you need to contact the TDC, and they'll get you on their website.
All right.
Does anyone else have any questions? Any questions from the public? Yes, Ms. Shirley. Where's the entrance to this RV park?
It's down to the right of the store.
Just before the automotive place?
Yeah, my store is right past Merrill's going to the beach. And the entrance to my store is just a wide open driveway, but then it goes down to the right.
So would this be it right here?
That's it right here.
But when you come back with your regular plans, your blueprints, that would be more designated.
Right, I'm going to have someone draw that up.
Okay.
Professionally.
I'll second that.
Okay. All right, so we have a motion by Commissioner Mathis, a second by Commissioner Massey. Is there any more discussion? Any more discussion or comments from the public? All right then, all in favor? Any opposed? Okay, and that motion carries.
Woman minority.
Very good.
And the right night.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for answering our questions. Okay, here we go. Item 4, discussion and possible action regarding adopting boat ramp fees in the city of Carrabelle. All right, now just go ahead and mention, and some of you were at the CRA meeting. Our CRA board makes these recommendations. We address the same item. And they said, I believe I have it quoted here, to change the 4th Street and Marine Street boat ramps, to charge, the 4th Street and Marine Street boat ramps, local Carrabelle residents within the city limits to be excluded of fees with permit, consider launch fee of $10. And this recommendation was unanimously approved by the members that were present on the CRA board at our last July meeting. So how do we want to start the discussion?
I think we should include the residents of Franklin County,
Yes,
same
sir.
as Appalachicola,
I do too.
instead of just Carrabelle.
And what do you all think about that, including all of the residents of Franklin County and not just Carrabelle? And Mr. Kohut, would you come and tell us, express to us why? Please let us know.
I go to Apalachicola to launch, I pay a $10 fee.
You don't have to. If you're a Franklin County resident, you do not have to pay at any of their facilities, it's city-owned.
Okay, well, that was new to me, I didn't know that. I see the sign that says it. I've been to Fort St. Joe, they charge a $10
Yes,
fee for
Fort St.
everybody
Joe.
except Gulf County residents.
That's right.
Okay, well, if they're not charging me to
No,
go to
they're not charging.
Apalachicola, I don't mind.
If they do, you let me know.
I certainly will, sir.
He'll go over there. I've seen at the county meetings, so he'll go to their
Just
meeting.
let them know, if you'll
I
go
don't
into
know I've
City
been
Hall, you'll go into City Hall, they'll give you something you can launch at their boat ramp for free.
And I do have some sample applications from, I'm not going to bring them up now, because this will take a couple of more meetings and workshops, to work out everything if we decide to go with it. But Pinellas County, Taylor County, Collier County, they allow all of their citizens to use. And I've got a fee schedule from Cape Coral, and they allow all the county citizens to use their ramps. They might have like a $10 a year processing fee to process the hanger that they put on the rearview mirror or whatever, but not the regular fees, of $120, $150 for out-of-county users. But a fee like this would help provide funding for future ramp and parking lot maintenance and any improvements, or we might need some security down there at some time. It might help to pay for, just a part-time security style person. But we certainly need to establish collection procedures and, just how we're going to do this. We'll have to have some workshops. And I know you all have seen me bring these out time and time again. These are from McCullough and Spring Creek, St. Mark's, and here's one of these brand new iron policemen where they collect. But if we sell annual fees, then we wouldn't really necessarily need something like this, or we may decide to do something where folks don't have a fee, they pay on a daily use basis. So there's a
We'll
lot.
need one of those for the ones that just come down,
Every now and
like
then.
Lanark has.
Yeah. Does Lanark have one of these? or-
Uh-huh.
Okay.
You fill it out, it's got a little, it's like a little card, index card, but it'll have your vehicle, your name, your tag number, the color of your vehicle, and you put your $10 in that envelope. It's on the envelope. And you put your $10 in the envelope and you put it in the, and it's like this, it's like this one. It's like this one right here, if they hadn't changed it. And then every day, somebody goes from the boat club and they unlock it, get it out, and they hire, I think they hire somebody from the store or somebody there in Lanark, like on opening day during scallop season. Greg. Yeah. But anyway, he goes by and he looks, and at that tag number that's parked there at that boat ramp, if his tag number ain't in one of them envelopes, they lock that trailer, And they don't pick up that boat till their $10 is paid. But then they can buy a yearly fee through the boat club too. And it used to be $100 a year. Now that's for everybody, that ain't just for out of town.
I know that's for us, and
That's for everybody.
Mr. Cohut, we all have to pay at the Lanark Boat Ramp, so.
But that's how they do it there.
And that's a nonprofit, they're doing that for their
They can
nonprofit.
send the chief not to lie.
Yes, that, more work for the law enforcement.
Well,
but
we
we'll
have,
see.
yeah.
That we'll probably, if we decide to move
Really,
forward.
the law enforcement hadn't even got to do nothing to do that because we clean the bathrooms and all that during the summer. Pick up garbage along Ring Street, whoever does that can go over there and unlock it. You just lock that boat trailer and they're not gonna move till that $10 is put in that box.
You need to keep that box.
I know it. That is what we'll have to establish is who's going to actually issue but we haven't even decided whether or not we're doing it. We haven't voted on it, but it's going to be extra duties for administrative staff, so that's going to have to be worked out on selling the annual passes and for residents, issuing annual passes, selling annual passes
The
for
first
Hannah
year,
County.
the first year it's gonna be busy. I think
Yeah.
it'll dwindle down after that.
And then also who will manage the cash collections out of the, now I did see one county actually uses a credit card at their machine. So we'll just have to, have some workshops if we decide to move forward. So what do you all think about this?
Oh, I make a motion to approve that
Okay.
I say,
for non-county residents,
correct.
for non-county residents.
Okay, and we have a second by Commissioner Mathis. Okay, and what we have then is adopting boat ramp fees throughout the city of Carrabelle for all the residents of Franklin County. The fees will, we want to adopt boat ramp fees within the city of Carrabelle for all non-county residents. Is that correct, Ms. Massey?
Yes.
You want to do it for county
All,
or city?
just all
Carrabelle?
non-county, fees for all non-county residents.
Non-county.
Non-county.
Okay.
And then county residents would be able to use the ramp free.
How would we verify that through their driver's
I
license?
wouldn't say the whole county.
Huh?
I wouldn't say the whole county.
All right, we
And I
have,
did say county to start with in my motion, didn't I?
okay, all right, we have Miss Mel Kelly, please come forward, and then we'll have Mr. Christopherson.
I have two things to comment about that. One of the things is that I think Olivia's getting at is that for maintenance, repair, and upkeep, the issue of city versus county residents is a really strong one, because the city is going to keep those boat ramps up, but county residents who will use them will have no financial obligation to help with that maintenance. And I think that's part of what she was getting at, that there is a concern that if the city is expected to maintain them,
They have a city address.
then that's
Because
one of...
anybody can say, Mr. Frank, a lot of people will come down here in vacation homes and all, but they don't have a they don't have a
And then it
city
becomes...
address.
If he's a non-resident, he pays. If he's a resident of Franklin County, he don't pay.
But that's a different issue too, because whether he's a property owner versus a resident, that's two different issues. One of the questions I had of Mr. Hartman was, is there a city ordinance for enforcement of this kind of action? Because I was curious about what would the enforcement be. Would a ticket be issued? How much would the ticket be? Is it 24-hour? What would the enforcement be?
We will have workshops.
We would adopt an ordinance providing for boat fee and for violation.
Yeah, there is no parking ordinance now, is that correct? There is no
boat
and trailer?
Launching.
No. Is there a boat parking ordinance now?
No, I think any general parking ordinance we have now probably covers it. Meaning if you park your 54 feet of boat and trailer and it's blocking a right of way or something, you'll get a ticket.
Because I know the mayor mentioned that,
Non-moving, right.
is it the mayor mentioned before that there was tickets, as I understood it, being issued, and I was just curious what the tickets were.
No tickets are being issued.
No, there had been parking tickets or something enforced that you mentioned. I was just curious.
Yeah. People, just like you couldn't park your car willy-nilly somewhere, people sometimes with boats don't park.
People park willy-nilly?
Willy-nilly.
Does he come down here?
Mr. Willie?
Anyway, the other issue that I wanted to raise at this point was, because there is such heavy usage of the 4th Street ramps, I would encourage consideration by the city of a porta potty being installed there. I think that considering Mr. Crowder donated those ramps in the first place, and I think the abuse of the bathrooms at sea quarters is probably very high. I have been told that as many as 75% of the people who use that ramp are using the bathrooms. And there again, there is no reinforcement or reimbursement for that. So just, if you would, in your workshops, if you would just consider the placement of a porta potty.
Mr. Crowder didn't give that. He was traded.
I understand that, but I'm simply saying, please consider the installation of a porta potty there to take some of the pressure off of those bathrooms as it is. Thank you.
I agree with you there.
Thank you. Okay, I'm wondering, we're in discussion now, if we might, Christopherson, Mr. Gregg, please come forward.
I get that at home too. Well, one thing, Mel's talking about parking, but it's really more launch fee that you're talking about, so
Yes,
parking is not
launch fee.
really relevant. But I think from what Commissioner Mathis is saying too, that people up 67 that live on one side of, and then the ones that live on the other side, I mean, are they going to be Carrabelle residents if you're going to go with just the city, or how do you say? But there are some people that live just outside that are, very close. Carrabelle address, but people in Lanark have Carrabelle addresses if they don't have a P.O. box. If you don't have a P.O. box in Lanark, your address is Carrabelle. So, you're going to have a hard time trying to determine who's who and what's what.
All the way out to Woodhill Road.
Yeah.
Because I can look at an address and know whether it's in the city or not.
Right,
Go ahead.
Launch here, and what they gonna do the same to people from here going down the Latch.
You're right, and they have 3 or 4 boat ramps over there.
They certainly do, so I say we go down.
Just a point, thank you.
You're right. I'll approve to go countywide, but they have to have a Franklin County address.
On the driver's license.
I just want to make sure before we go, we're in discussion, before we vote on this, that.
Did I miss? I heard the motion, but I didn't know.
No, we didn't.
No, we're in discussion. Commissioner Massey made a motion and Commissioner Mathis seconded, but we're trying to make sure we understand what the motion is.
Okay.
And we're in discussion. And I want to make sure that we know that we're not going to start charging boat ramp fees tomorrow, that we've got a lot of, developing an ordinance and how we're going to collect and who's going to do the collection and where we're going to, it's not going to happen, overnight. It's going to take a couple of workshops and how we're going to enforce it and all.
Well, we really don't even have to do anything today, do we?
Well, we would motion that we would adopt, maybe we need to not motion, oppose your motion and then let's reword a new motion. How about that? Yes, it is.
I was going to say that. I would like to call for the motion and all these technical things we have to work out at the workshop, but let's go ahead and vote on the motion.
Well, we'll oppose this motion and then make a new motion that includes workshops. Okay. Is that all right then? We could amend, but we find it simpler to oppose and then reword the motion. Okay, so we ready to vote then? All in favor?
Aye.
All right then.
I didn't get all that.
Okay. Okay.
Just do another motion.
All right, all in favor? Okay.
Is there any opposed?
Yeah, any opposed? Aye. I oppose that motion. Does anyone else oppose that motion? All right, what was that motion? I believe
It was to adopt boat ramp fees for
$10, exclude
$10
Franklin
for
County
all
residents.
non-county residents. Okay,
have her withdraw her motion.
I think it's too late for
That
that.
was passed.
Okay.
That one passed.
Okay, all
We're
right.
gonna have workshops.
Okay, so we're going to adopt, all right, that motion carries. We're going to adopt boat ramp fees for all non-county residents. And so we'll start working on that here in a while, a month or so. Got a lot of it, like,
I mean, we can go back and do all kinds of things.
yeah, we'll schedule a workshop next month. I'll put it on the agenda.
Do you want me to prepare a draft ordinance to use at the workshop?
Well, you could do that. I've got a couple I'll send you.
That'd be great.
Okay. All right then. Here we go. Old business. Discussion and possible action regarding janitorial service within the city of Carrabelle. So we've had two, you all received our two applications here. Is that correct? Do we understand these applications? They're for the Tilly Miller Park, Sands Park, Marine Street Park and Pavilion, the fish cleaning station, mess pavilion and restaurant, and 12th Street Fishing Pier area is to include cleaning the restrooms where there are restrooms in those locations, empty trash cans, clean up stray litter, and the city's going to furnish the supplies. And then we'll need to establish a place for them to put their garbage because the streets and road yards should and will be locked over the weekends when there's no staff there. 6-month renewable contract. This person will provide their own transportation and will be able to pass a background check. It's for 3 hours on Saturday and Sunday, each 2 hours in the morning and 1 hour in the evening. So we thought you left us. All right.
I would like to say something about
Okay.
this before anybody makes a motion to
All right.
approve. I would really rather see us hire somebody for streets and roads in Jared's spot than to hire somebody to just clean up this, because they need it. I mean, we have one city worker. I mean, you couldn't even get grass cut in City Hall for a meeting on the first of the month, because we have one worker, and they cut the cemetery all day. I mean, it took almost all day to cut the cemetery. Then you have people fussing about their roads and all that. It's the summer months, it rains. Half the time, the inmates are not even coming out during the summertime. Because if it's raining, and Keith knows it, if it's raining and all, they're not letting them, they'll let them come out if it's raining a little bit. But if it's lightning, thunder, and all, nobody's bringing out inmates. That's just the way it is. Little William, he can't get in with inmates every day. I mean, he's got other stuff he has to do, but he can't take inmates to do it. There's just lots of stuff. This city is growing. There's a lot more to do here. And if anybody that put bids in for it wanted to put in for that job, I tell them to put in for the job. Mr. Quick, I know you put in a bid for this job. I wouldn't do it for what you put a bid in for this job. I wouldn't even accept the bid that you put in. You know why? Because that's unacceptable. That's not enough money to give my grandson, if he's 8 years old, to go clean one of the parks.
I've done it for a lot less.
Okay. Now, I agree with you. All of the points you make are valid, and I have discussed many of these items with Courtney and with William, and probably Commissioner Baldwin has. I mean, we know that Streets and Roads needs an additional employee at this point. But I would say that that would be better addressed within their next budget year. Let's see how they're...
We won't hire until the
Well,
next budget.
these restrooms, especially Tilly Miller, they need immediate help.
Oh, I agree with you.
And we're in the tourist season. This gives us it's a 6-month renewable contract, and it's, you know, we can do it for 6 months until we can get the streets and roads better established. And if we want to renew, we can, or if we see our funding will allow, you know, some assistance on the weekend. I think it's a good thing. It has happened in the past. We have had a part-time person in the weekend. On the weekends, even if we hire somebody, we'll have to pay overtime on the weekend and all of that. So it's less expensive to do contract work like
It is
that.
less expensive, but I still think we need somebody. I mean, they need help.
And that's a valid point. I wouldn't overlook that.
Yeah, they need help. I mean, and the Department of Corrections, the officer they send out, we're not getting them every day.
Let me address what you said. You might be right. 3 months out here, summer is rough. But what they do the rest of the months when they ain't nothing to do?
What do they do?
Well, because we got the warden coming out here to City Hall because things going on with our road and street department.
Keith, that's with everybody with DOC.
I say,
If they fired me because they see the inmate smoking, I'd have been fired 15 years ago. You too.
let's hire us somebody to clean the bathroom, a good deal with hiring somebody later, but I don't think we need. You want to hire somebody in the summer months to help, fine. I just don't see where you need another employee. We've already dealt with this. We dealt with it.
Yeah.
We had a lot of problems because there was a lot of time in the winter they got nothing to do.
And just the city of Carrabelle has not lost an employee because had inmates taken. The county's had 3 squads taken, the city of Apalachicola had 2 squads taken, and they have not fired not one employee. Not one of them has been fired.
Well, tonight we were here to deal with clean the bathrooms. Well, you want to pay somebody to clean the bathrooms $33 a day?
I'll accept it, but not at $33 a day. I say at least give him $75 a day. The next highest bid was $350.
Okay, Commissioner
All
Allen?
right, so point of order, should we have a motion and a second and then have this discussion?
Well, we don't go always by rules of order. We have many times we have discussion before we have a motion and a second. We can have discussion, and then we can have a motion, and then we can have a second, and then we can have another discussion. More times than not, we have discussion before we have a motion. We just had discussion on the boat ramp, launching fees before we had a motion.
I understand you can do a little of that, but this is getting a little bit out of hand. So that's just my position.
And you all just be a little bit calmer, don't get anybody upset.
No, we ain't.
You don't want to get upset.
Ain't nobody upset.
I'm not upset.
We just got different opinions.
Yeah, and that's good. I enjoy the different opinions.
We just have different opinions.
Constructive debate, and it gives us all a different outlook. Now, my suggestion would be to hire this person, one of these people, one of us $350.
Yeah.
How much?
A week.
A week.
That's it for 2 days.
Okay. And then the other one is put in for...
I make a motion to hire Mr. Quick because he was the lowest bidder at $50 a day. Yeah, it is on the floor. I'm making the motion.
That's, okay. All right, so we have a motion by Commissioner Massey to hire Mr. Quick at, you say $50 per day?
$50 a day each. I mean, he's got $33 a day, and he's cleaning 6
Okay,
bathrooms.
all right, let's have the math, let's have a second, please. Okay, by Mr. Mathis, we have a second by Mr. Mathis for Mr. Quick at $50 a day.
And now this will be like a contract employee, correct?
Yes,
Yes.
6
Yes.
months renewable contract. All right, now, do we want to have some discussion, more discussion? Want to have some more discussion? Okay. Any more discussion? Will Mr. Quick be quick about cleaning the restrooms and do a good job?
When do you want to start?
Okay.
That's all I need to know.
I don't know, when does he start?
Move your direction.
I say he starts,
What's today, this weekend?
Saturday morning.
Saturday, Friday.
Come down here and see Keisha, she'll give you all the instructions and everything you need to do, but I don't have those.
And we need to make arrangements for where you'll put the garbage, because the streets and roads will be, well, we haven't voted on it yet. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, then the motion carries. Okay, so now, Mr. Quick, you'll need to get all of that, especially where you're going to put the garbage. Okay. All right.
Can I make a comment here?
Yes, sir.
We fishing it in the city hall, school board, it's gonna take about, we have 5 minutes.
Yes, certainly. Thank you.
You gotta cool
Yes,
out.
we're going to have us a recess, 5 minutes, but it'll probably be 10. All right. I want to go ahead and call this meeting back to order, please. And we're going to go now with old business, discussion of possible action concerning relocation of City Hall. I'm just going to give a quick, I just want to make for public record, there has been a little bit of misunderstanding. But this meeting that we're having now makes a total of 19 publicly noticed regular meetings where relocation of City Hall has been discussed. In addition to that, we've had 2 publicly noticed special meetings and 1 publicly noticed workshop. So since January of 2015, and that's all I have on my records at home, it may have been before that we started. I know discussion was going on in 14. But since January of 2015, we've had 22 publicly noticed meetings and 1 workshop regarding relocation of City Hall. So I just, I wanted to make sure that we all understand that, and that on June the 20th, the meeting on June the 20th for relocation for City Hall, that was titled as a special meeting. During the June 1st commission meeting, the June 20th special meeting was motioned for, voted on, and approved unanimously to be titled a special meeting so that we could vote. And so, and that June 20th meeting was properly publicly noticed. And so I just wanted to say on June the 25th, July 25th, the staff, Courtney, Keisha, Miranda, and I met with Ms. Cherie Wood of Centennial Bank to begin compiling our loan application documents and try to get some pre-approval from the USDA. And Keisha's working on, she wants to work on developing a 2718 budget line item in the event that we do get this thing built and our payments start before next fiscal year, 18-19. So Mr. Large from Innovia, I understand, has a presentation for us.
Thank you. We have been progressing with our design process related to architecture and civil site design, so we wanted to share some progress with you. Before I pass out the exhibits, I will mention that the geotechnical investigation was completed. There's a total of 7 borings done on the site, and 1 DRI test, which is a percolation test. And there was good soil found on the site, good sandy soil, no unsuitable material was found in those borings. And I'll be happy to share that report with you at your request. And I'll go ahead and pass out a group of exhibits here that includes architecture. There's a rendering of the building, 3-dimensional color rendering. We have an updated floor plan. We have elevation views. And then the last sheet in this exhibit is the site plan. On the site plan, we have 58 regular spaces and 3 handicap spaces, which are in addition. We do have 16 of those 58 parking spaces are shell, but we essentially maximize parking on the site. Okay, so I'll pass these out.
I know y'all want to see it, but we'll see if we can get something passed around.
The architect, Mr. Schuler, is, yes. The architect was not available to be here today. He's actually in Washington, D.C. But I'll be happy to field any questions you have related to the architecture exhibits. I would point out on sheet A 1.1, the commission chambers. He's showing how that could be built out for future office space if expansion is done on the site at some point in the future.
Russell, what's the outside of the structure, composition of the walls?
It appears to me to be hardy board or a similar type product, but again, this is just a picture. Right. Right. So those things can change, and we welcome comments. And
Got to start right off. I don't like the little bump out over here. With all due respect, Ms. Keisha. At the city clerk's, the designated city clerk, that's more money to do that. And you've got someone that's going to have, a bigger, larger office. We really don't. We want to keep it as simple as possible.
I don't want to necessarily speak, and your comments note, and I don't want to speak for the architect, but I suspect the reason he's doing that is the side that fronts the street, and having that bump out will make it look good.
I have to see a rendering, but that's going to add back. And then I like where you put the door. The chief needs to see one of the. Do we have a floor plan for the chief?
Yes.
That he can look at. But now this is what I would suggest. I wish that all of us had this to review very well at home and not just be bombarded with it at this moment. I don't know if we need to schedule a special meeting where we can take this home and study it and come back and provide our input. I don't know if we have time to, with the option on the property, do we have time to wait another meeting, another month to provide our input? It's difficult for us to sit here now.
Sure. And the expectation was that you would not review it and offer official comments, but I do think there would be time to address any concerns by the next meeting.
I'm sure there's an exit door.
There is. That's the roof tile plan.
Yes. Help us. Yes, ma'am. Nancy, draw us a picture.
Huh?
Now, I see something else that we cannot afford. This drive, you know that.
Oh,
that we can't afford that.
Well, I thought
That's the front.
That's the front.
That's the front, okay,
That's the front. That's not a drive-through.
Okay.
No, that's the front.
Very good. We thought the same thing, sorry. You thought the same.
That's the, that's the cover over the front door. That's right.
All
That's
right.
right. Yes.
And I see you've got the, we'll look at the parking lot.
The sheriff's department, the police department's nice.
So who wants to take a quick look at mine, because I want this back shortly. Does anyone take a quick look? Okay.
Russell, is there a wall?
Yes.
Yes, there is. There's a secure room.
Yeah, I see the wall.
Does staff have any input, Ms. Courtney, Keisha?
We just noticed the window between water and sewer and the finance clerk's missing there.
Okay, make a note of that. And we'll have to go over this, with fine tooth, but overall, it's, but now he's left the mechanical rooms where we had them. I mean, what do we know about
This
that?
this is what I would like to suggest. It's okay. It pleases the board. Take this, and next week I can ask Doug to schedule a meeting with you and staff,
Okay.
whoever would like to attend, and we can sit down with the plan and go through some detail.
Maybe if other commissioners want to have input, we can take turns coming in. Now, we've done that before. When Division of State Lands came, they came and stayed a couple of hours, and we had appointments. Commissioners came and had appointments.
Happy to do that.
All right, so do y'all want to do that?
We want to approve it before the next meeting night?
We make, we want to schedule a workshop, folks. Well, it would have to be a special meeting.
Or we can designate. You and Courtney to, if we have, if we would need to ask him something, we can ask him or go over it, but we can designate, the mayor and Courtney to approve it to them.
Mr. Hartman?
If we make a motion and it passes,
What I'm looking at is our contract.
can't the mayor approve it if the board says so?
If we vote at this meeting for some sort of approval, but I mean, on our agenda is discussion of possible action concerning relocation to City Hall. What is the timeline? What is the timeline on working out the details of the floor plan, such that what is, or design, where we get out the bid? I mean, what is the?
All right, let me ask you a question.
Right.
The option with the property owner,
Looking at that.
I think it's
Right.
October 2nd.
October 2, 2017.
okay, and specifically, what are the contingency items related to that?
We have to close on we have to close by October 2nd, 2017, period. Otherwise, the contract terminates on its own terms.
Dave, can I ask you another question?
I see. So there's no milestone that has to be met in terms of obtaining permits?
No, all that talk that didn't end up in the final contract.
I see. Okay.
I was going to ask one more question. Dan,
Yes.
we've been going over this for a long time. Everybody's ready for a city hall. Now we've we've come, now we need another meeting to, you know what I'm saying, another meeting to get stuff.
I'm not-
What I'm saying is, instead of everybody meeting with Mr. Large separately, if any of us have any questions, any of us four commissioners have any questions, we can give them to Courtney. And Courtney and the mayor can sit down with him, instead of him having to meet 5 different times, spend more money. We can all talk to Courtney, Courtney can write down our questions.
Yeah.
And then her and the mayor can talk to it and approve it. Can we make a
Well,
motion to do
this
that?
is the thing, you're absolutely right. I don't know what approvals the commission needs to give at this point in time, meaning we're talking about a window or a door between water and sewer clerk. I mean, we're talking about little changes to a floor plan. That's not even something the commission would really vote on necessarily. That we need all that input. I mean, we don't want to have an actual obvious problem here and not be satisfied with the finished product. But it sounds to me like the next milestone is arranging for financing. And you can estimate a construction cost based on what's here, installing a doorway, getting rid of the bump out. All that is not going to impact that price significantly enough to matter any which way.
Well, if
Oh,
there's
Julie,
any
you're-
questions, is what I'm asking. If
Yeah, they need to get asked, but they can be
Yeah.
asked independently. They don't need to be asked at a meeting or anything like that.
Right, but that's what I'm saying, is we can give them to Courtney. The
Yep.
commissioners can, and then her and the mayor can meet with Mr. Large and do whatever needs to.
And actually, what I would suggest would be that everybody give the court, mayor, commissioners, everybody, and she can obviously pass them along to Russell and everything else, because we want everybody's input to have equal weight going back to the, and when it comes down to things like this, where I don't think anybody's disagreeing that there needs to be the door where it needs to be. I understand the bump out from an aesthetic standpoint or a cost standpoint, but that can all get sorted out before,
And there's things
yeah,
like.
down the road, it's not-
Siding, what we need to know is what, the finished product would be. And then, well, maybe we can't afford hardy siding, and then we've got to go to vinyl.
Right,
We
and
don't
there's
know, what kind of flooring
Yes.
can we afford.
And there's an evolution that we have to go through those steps. So, I think this is the first initial step. This is the updated floor plan. And we'll make that progression and check it with our cost estimates along the way.
Okay, what kind of action do we need to do tonight? Possible action concerning relocation of City Hall.
it may be just that we're having discussion tonight.
Agreed.
Possible action.
Agreed. I had not intended there would be action tonight. Just wanted to share our progress and get some feedback.
It is a lot, yeah.
But we do need to, obviously, September will be the next meeting, and October 4 is the following meeting after that. So we'll be past, we talked about all the work that's gone into this. The October meeting will be the 5th, but at the September meeting, we do need to, we've entered into a contract, but we have to move to a closing if that's.
Have we, right, that's what
So
we
that
need to
will
do.
be action.
We need to make an action against the closing.
Yeah, an action to purchase the property pursuant to the contract that we signed. We can do that at the next meeting, but that would be action we take at the next meeting. Beyond that, I don't know what action, obviously Russell can tell us.
Yeah, right. Beyond that, we'll be making permit applications between now and the next meeting. In fact, we may have the permit by next meeting for stormwater in particular. And then we move into building permitting. And then we would advertise for bids. So the next action I think the commission would take would be to accept the bid.
Once the bid's accepted, then financing can get locked in because that's, now we know the dollar amount. So really the next commission action would be whether or not the city is purchasing that property with new city hall.
On your site plan, are you going to be discussing the high grading?
Yes, we do have grading plan, yes.
Are you all ready to take a view of the site plan? You all want to look at the parking lot and what he's got planned? Yes, for the site.
It's on our last sheet in that package.
All right, so how high are you planning to go up here?
Finished floor would be elevation 15.
But are you?
Okay, from existing ground?
Yeah.
It's about 2 feet.
2 feet. Do you, at this point, do you have any idea what it costs to go up one, foot, each foot? Like you said, what you might want to suggest to go up 3 feet? Is that what's that going to cost?
Okay, I don't have a number, but I can certainly find that.
So the elevation wasn't that high on that piece of property.
Most of it's in 13, looks like.
But this location too, we have to go up, what you said, when we had the topo done, this elevation right here, we have to go up about 2.5 to 3 feet right here. So,
The base flood's 15. The majority, it looks like there's a benchmark of 14 right there on the corner. And the majority of the building is sitting in a 13.
That's right.
So, so it'll be about 3. We have a 1.3.
did you put handicap parking in the front?
Handicap parking is on the side. At that elevation, at elevation 15, we were not able to get an accessible route from the on-street parking to the door. So we had to put the handicap parking around the side.
And that keeps from having to put a ramp in.
That's right, so we do not need a ramp.
All right. One thing about it, from the front parking spaces to the front door is like nothing like here. It's right
Yeah.
there. So, does anyone have any questions? Ms. Mel Kelly wants to speak, please.
In all honesty, I have been sitting here personally stewing about whether to make the comments that I prepared. Particularly because I only attended 3 of the special meetings, and I well understand that you will probably be very angry if I say what I'd like to say. Now that's my problem. Say it. I started out and borrowed an expression from Commissioner Sanders. I have no dog in this fight. I stood up for and defended to others when there was much opposition to the proposed acquisition of the Bragdon property for City Hall. It has good main highway location, water, sewer, level elevation, close to town, accessible, sidewalks, parking spaces, and good commercial area. Bragdons were some of the first people I met when I came to town. Sonny Boy is the one who inspired me to get involved in Carrabelle politics. I will always be grateful for the generosity and support Ms. Pat has provided to the city during my term as mayor and long beyond. She has been generous and caring and very dedicated to Carrabelle. So I don't want my comments to be construed as anything negative. nor do I want anyone to think I am taking anyone's side in this terribly important decision affecting many years of the city's future. But since you have not finalized your contract, I ask you to reconsider the use and purchase of the former Gulf State Bank building and 2 acres at the valuable corner of 67 and 98. Any realtor will tell you that the 3 most important considerations in evaluating real estate are location, location, location. I firmly believe there is no better location for the city's growth, development, and utilization for the citizens than to select and purchase the corner of 67 and 98 for City Hall, downtown parking, police services, and community space. It will become the city's anchor, together with the library, the post office, the fire station, our beautiful Messer Pavilion, possible police service stations, and the landmark intersection. I understand money to purchase is an issue. Few have dealt with ongoing city budget demands, taxes, and obligations as I did. But since long-term indebtedness is a certainty for whatever choice is made, money should only be part of the consideration for the ultimate outcome of your long-term decision. I also understand the bank building's configuration as is may not be ideally suited at this time for city staff use. But of course, some of it could be put to use, such as the vault for current records, financial matters, even police evidence, or perhaps the side building for City Hall purposes, and use the emptied out main floor space for public assembly and meeting space. But remember, however the space would be utilized or modified by your excellent engineers, it is still and always will be the best location. I understand much money has already been spent on site engineering for the Bragdon site. Incidentally, I was told that the Bragdon property purchase was contingent upon the city's ability to build upon the site. I hope that contingency wording was not as simple as that, because it is always possible to build on any property if enough money is spent. I would not want the city obligated to that purchase under such wide open financial costs. However, Mr. Hartman made that clear. That apparently is not the case. I believe the location of the former Gulf State Bank site is too good to lose. Wonderfully adequate property is there for downtown parking, and the site provides the opportunity for the future development expansion of a large, spacious community public meeting and convention type facility, woefully lacking in all of Franklin County. Accommodations, restaurants, and all city services would benefit from such a facility if properly marketed to outside businesses and social groups. That's just one of the location considerations to keep in mind. This new city hall is not for today or for today's staff or citizens. It will stand long after we are all gone, just as does the 1933 Justice City Hall building, now carefully being brought back to a functional public use life on behalf of the citizens and friends of Carrabelle. Perhaps one of our outstanding realtor brokers could go directly to the mortgage holder of the Gulf State building and help them to understand the city's need for this important location. Perhaps a good attorney could bypass traditional channels and suggest a short sale or negotiate some other creative way to convince all that this would be, as the realtors say, the highest and best use for this property. I understand the Appalachia Gulf State Bank has been sold. I understand the same mortgager holds the mortgage and might be willing to consider a timely offer to rid themselves of their local obligations. Who knows unless someone asks. I will support whatever final decision on behalf of the city that this or a future commission makes, of course. That is who I am and how I operate. But I could not let these comments and hopes go unspoken. Please remember, you are not planning for the city of today, but rather on behalf of those more than 500 citizens who actively participated and voted to approve the city's comprehensive plan more than 10 years ago. Your wisdom and forethought on behalf of those citizens will be remembered long after we are gone, because you will leave your mark on the city for all to see, one way or the other. You are currently leading and responsible for a city which has looked to the future by birthing and nurturing 3 well-respected and successful historical museums. The city has generated several festivals that regularly attract visitors and participants from hundreds of miles away. You have an active Chamber of Commerce and are part of a tax-supported countywide tourism development district. The city and state supported the creation and generation of our noteworthy Waterfronts Partnership Program that inspired several other area-wide communities to imitate our own original success. Please use your positions and make your decisions wisely on behalf of all of us who choose to live here. I believe in our own ways we all care very deeply about the city and her well-being for today. But you must remember to also to continue to look ahead to her tomorrows. Thank you for your patience.
Thank you. All right, thank you. Okay, go ahead and then I'll speak. Thank you, Ms. Kelly.
The remark you made about today, not worrying about today, that's the reason I'm not for buying the Gulf State Bank, because I am thinking about tomorrow and the future. That building's 25 years old, and that's what we're going to get, a 25-year-old building. And it'll be a 25-year-old building when we die. And it'll still be a 25-year-old building when we spend $500,000 in it.
I'm just wondering if, Ms. Kelly, do you have any idea what the renovations would be? Have you looked into that before you made your
My
comments?
only comment to that is that you have to spend money on either construction or renovation. I'm certainly not an expert. Russell is far beyond understanding what
And
might
do
be.
you have any idea on how this would happen? Would staff move in there and then we would try to renovate around staff? Is that how
Well,
do you?
as I said, I think that side building might be usable for temporary. It's not my place to argue with your decisions or to, my place was to ask you to please think very carefully about that before you finally sign on the dotted line. The location is the ultimate issue. I stayed because I wanted to make my point. I apologize to you because of your sincere and long-term and heartfelt efforts to do this. I don't want to be a Johnny-come-lately and come in, but in my own good conscience, I could not let this go without making my comment.
All right, and I just want to say, I have lost a lot of sleep over the years. And I am the fiscally responsible. Anyone will tell you, I am very cheap. I was quick to point out we can't have a bump out, we can't afford it. But to me, fiscally responsible, to be fiscally responsible, to move staff to the old City Hall Justice Building. Move them there. If the History Museum has no place to go, they can store their things in the Bay Building. And put the city operations there, put the police department in the empty building next door. Pay talk about, we're going to eventually here shortly be talking about what is owed to the school board. Pay that. Continue to pay our ongoing CRA payments that the city owes to the CRA for not making payments back in 8 to 13 or 14, 13. And then we need to get money to demo this building. It's going to be somewhere around $200,000 or more, 250. We need to start a building savings fund and get this building demoed and build on this site. And that's what I would do. But I haven't brought it up because it's the Carrabelle History Museum. And people in this room would be very upset about it. But that, if you want to talk about something fiscally responsible, that is the fiscally responsible thing to do.
And that is a decision which the commission has to make, and I apologize because I have to leave for Wisconsin in 24 hours and nobody's home acting for me. But that's how important this was for me. I wanted to share. I don't need to participate in the discussion. I made my comments to you. They were very heartfelt. I hope you understand that. Obviously, it would be easy because I know Mr. Walden mentioned when I was here at one of the public meetings returning to the History Museum, I hope that you choose not to do that because that would be a loss of an attraction to this city that would be most unfortunate. Obviously, I can't influence you one way or the other, but I would say that it would be a mostly unfortunate decision. But obviously, it's going to be all renovated, so of course you can do whatever you want. I just hope that you will think about the future, as I tried to say, the possibilities for 2 acres of property there in the long term could provide not only income, but visibility and something of beauty for the city. That's all the point I wanted to make, and I appreciate your tolerance and listening.
Mr. Bryan.
Thank you, Pete.
Okay, Mr.
Appreciate
Bryan.
it, Ms. Kelly.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Microphone, Mr. Bryan.
All right, I'm from Southwest Michigan. I was a contractor for 34 years in the city. I was elected to a UDC board and eventually was president. Our purpose was to build tax base, bring people in to pay taxes. Therefore, they'll be hiring people. How much tax base will you be losing over the years by taking that out of the tax base, and the city's not going to get
A lot of it would be sufficient. And as the value goes up, yes, it would be sufficient.
Right, and how much more valuable will that be for employment for the city and the community?
It would be, and it could be a convention center if, you know, in the future, that area could be a convention center operated by a private individual.
And you don't need near the square footage there that you're going to build over here.
No, it's 12,000 heated, 6,000, and then an additional 6,000 porches.
Well, that's all I
that
have to
be
say.
Maintained. And generally, what we've been looking for is something smaller that would be easy to maintain. We have a skeleton crew. We even have a skeleton streets and roads crew. And
But you don't want to lose what tax base you got.
That's right.
That's
all
what
up
we
you
can.
get.
And you ride up along Highway 98, you don't see any other city hall that's a place of so-called grandeur. They're all like this, you know. Choppy and Mexico Beach is much more simple than this. They're all off 98. This would be the only one that's on Highway 98. So we do have 98 exposure. Okay, sorry. I need to stop talking.
I just want to say I've been here for most of the meetings when you've been talking about the relocation. You have hashed this out, you've done your due diligence, you've made excellent decisions, you've really discussed it, you looked at all your options, and now we're going back to where we were a few years ago discussing things that have already been decided on. You're moving in the right direction, you've got a deadline you got to meet. I think you should continue on the direction you're going. I think you're doing an excellent job. And it's a tough decision, but you've looked it all over more than several times.
I should have shown this to Miss Kelly and asked her to take this to Wisconsin to peruse and see how many properties and exactly what, you know, we've done over the past 2.5 years and even before. So, all right, comments. It's 9 o'clock.
I know it, and I've had to work on this along with the mayor for quite a while, so But personally, my own personal, this is not the mayor speaking, I don't believe that you should take some of the most prime commercial property in Carrabelle, when there's so little of it in the first place, and put it under public, government use. Then you, as he says, you're going to lose your tax base. Someone else could come in here, put a hotel there one day. We don't know. I mean, now you're going to tie up downtown. We already got the library there on Highway 98. You're talking about prime property right across from the river. I mean, that is something that brings in tourists, and I don't think that it's the city's place to rent space or whatever, that was the idea here, and it never happened. And it just puts more of a burden on staff when you're doing that. And you're not going to make a lot of money. Everybody would want to come in there for free anyway. So that's my opinion.
And trying to rent, you're in competition with the private enterprise. And actually at Mexico Beach, they went back and forth for several years and had Highway 98, some location picked out. They couldn't afford it, and they built back on land that was owned by their water department, back off 98, 4 or 5 blocks. So
with this discussion and possible action concerning relocation of City Hall, can we make a motion to go ahead and purchase the land, or should we wait?
You have already done that. Or what, actually, sorry.
No,
No, you're right. That was what I was talking about earlier, is obviously we have until October 2nd, 2017 to buy it. I had mentioned that at the next meeting you need to make that decision. You could certainly make that decision at this meeting if you wanted to close it, to authorize.
I thought we was intending on including that in funding.
Oh, well, I mean, are we including the acquisition of the land in the loan? Okay. So
but now we could, Mr. Payne said that we could use water and sewer money. Oh, we have that.
And pay on that.
Yeah.
So, I mean, obviously the action could also be to apply for the loan and move ahead with the purchase. I mean, you could do.
We can make a motion to go ahead and purchase the property.
You can, to go ahead and close on it, get everything signed. The
That's
mayor
what's
would.
right about purchasing that property is being told what you can use it for. I buy something, I want to use it for what the hell I want to use it for.
Mr. Frank, we knew we was gonna build it at the City Hall there.
That's in the contract. You either build it or you don't get the
Well,
land.
that's what she knew, we was gonna build City Hall there.
Yeah, I'd be like that motor. If they told me I couldn't run salt water, I'd tell them to keep it.
I think that happened over in Appalachia with their library. That land was donated,
Yes.
but they had to build the library on that land. That happens.
That happens a lot, but it don't happen to me. You ain't gonna tell me what I'm gonna do with my money. If I buy it, I'll do with it what I want to do.
Well, we need to move forward here. We've got another item here, and it's 9 o'clock at night. So,
So what do we need to do? Do we need to?
no action is necessary. Is
No
that
action is
correct?
necessary if you want. I mean, you will have to decide. I mean, Libby, you brought up is tonight or in September, whether or not to authorize the mayor to sign whatever closing documents need to be signed and get
Oh,
that
yeah,
property titled in
I
name.
make
So-
a motion
so-
for that. I make a motion to have the mayor sign all the closing documents now.
And if the motion is to go ahead and call Monique at Tallahassee Title Group and close it, I mean, you could even close before the next meeting. I mean, you can make that motion. We're going to have to make one up or down in September.
No, I'll make that motion. Make that motion to purchase that property and have the mayor sign the closing. And
We have a motion to purchase the Bragdon property from Commissioner Massey and to allow the mayor to sign the closing papers. Do we have a second? Okay, so we have a second by Commissioner Walden. Is there any discussion? Is there any discussion? I'm going to ask one more
I
time.
just hope that we would spend a little more time looking into this. Mr. Bryan made a good point about the taxes, but on the other hand, as I've observed in another meeting, that the savings that we have from the utilities that we're spending here would more than make up for that difference. But that's probably, in fact, in my opinion, that's probably the best argument you have for doing that, getting the building. But I think that there are other things, and I think the location, on a scale of 1 to 10, I think the location is 15. So downtown.
As a rebut, or did you finish, Commissioner? Did you have anything else?
I guess I am.
I'm sorry, I thought you were, but if not, please continue.
True.
I just wanted to say, if you're looking at utility savings, certainly if you move from a 60,000 square foot to 12,000 square feet, yes, you're going to save utilities. But if you move from 60,000 to 5,000, that's built brand new, energy efficient, with energy efficient doors and windows, you're going to save utilities. And I mean, you're going to save some utility cost. You're not. We don't even know in the other building that's being discussed. We don't even know what the air conditioning system is like there. There's been no inspection or anything. Okay, Mr. Steve. Oh, and then Mr. Worthy wants to speak too.
Okay, great. I haven't been to all the meetings. I've been to all. I haven't been to all the meetings. I've been to some of the meetings. It is a hard decision to make. I keep hearing, I know that one time that building was offered for a lower price, and I understand and agree with the reason why y'all didn't make that deal. You're going to give the guy the factory for free out there with no...
Speak up.
You were going to give the factory for free out there with no reason for him to ever have to leave, because he wouldn't have to have employees, and so that totally made sense. But what I haven't ever heard is anyone on this commission in a public meeting, and maybe this happened, so speak about what those costs at the Gulf State Bank would be. You say, Mayor, several times, well, we don't know what this would cost, and we don't know what the air conditioner would cost, and we don't know how much the parking lot would cost, and you ran through a list about 10 or 15 items that we don't know how much it is. And so I wonder how you can make a decision that one is better than the other when you clearly have stated that we don't know what this one is. And it's easy to find out what the new building is because there's a cost per square foot, and you can say a survey costs this much. But the other building has never been past that one point where it was looked at for that price. I don't think I've observed it ever being really considered in the same way. So that's my comment.
Can I answer that? And then you can too? Okay, no, it doesn't matter. The tax base, the tax base. Y'all keep saying location, location, location. You ran a quarter of a mile apart. I don't know what you're talking about location. If you just want the location of City Hall right in the middle of town, I don't know what you're talking about location, but it doesn't matter. This is my opinion. You don't have to answer that. But tax base for today and for the future of Carrabelle, for the future of the CRA district, it's money. And like I said before, and I'll say it again, we're going to buy a 25-year-old building today, and when we get through remodeling it, we still going to have a 25-year-old building.
Do you mind if I comment?
It was made out of cardboard, the damn
Well,
thing fall apart.
the deal is, in my opinion, and I do have I do have a little architectural experience. That building is a concrete structure, and that concrete won't be going away anytime in the next 100 years. It'll outlast anything that comes in this town in terms of structure.
Concrete, but that's fine. I understand. I know what the building's made out of. And I know the roof isn't brand new.
It's 6 years old, I know how.
So,
and then in terms of location, and it does have a little bit to do with the tax base, and this is just my opinion, I'm sharing that, just a person. the value to the tax base from the sense of community that's created by when you drive into Carrabelle, it's not when you cross Broad Street. It's not when you cross the city limit line. It's when you get down to that main intersection and you see cars parked on the side of the road, and you see people walking, and you see buildings and some kind of density, and that's what people think of when they think of Carrabelle. And so the value in terms of location really has to do with that image that people think of Carrabelle in a community. And I think if we continue to grow and improve and cause that to be better, then the value of all the property base throughout the area is going to improve. And over time, I think in the end, it would make up for that tax base. But that's my point.
All right, Mr. Worthy, please let us know what your input is, sir.
I don't know if there is any easy answers for this city hall. If the bank building wasn't there, I'd be more inclined to use that property in the corner of it, but not all of it. Like I say, that building's pretty old. Probably got a lot of plumbing problems. All the plumbing's in the walls and the ceilings. That's Jimmy Crowder. Any building he owns, if he gets 15 years old, he gets rid of it because of plumbing. He'd have to tear every wall out of it to change it. And we've seen what we get into with something free. We're setting it. It's like getting a battleship to go trout fishing. You can't afford it. But like I said, there ain't no easy answers. The Bracken property, I wasn't all that crazy about that. And I'm sure it'd be popular if I told them what I would do. Mr. Walden knows what I do. I do just like you said. I would probably be back in our city hall. We own it. It's got a hell of a set of steps in it.
On the backside.
On the backside, and that's probably what I would do, but this is going to be a hard decision either way.
And with the savings of moving into the Justice Building, we could afford to put an elevator in there and not have to wait for the grant money.
Go on the outside for about $15,000.
So, that's the fiscally responsible thing to do. So we're trying to, split
Y'all
the
hurry up
difference.
and make this decision, so if I do look, I get elected, won't have to deal with it.
Yeah. I understand that. I do understand.
You want the easy way out, don't you?
Now, you make me lose my train of thought here, Miss Susan.
What flood zone is that in? Is it a A or an AE flood zone?
AE.
AE. So the only thing.
On which building?
On the Bragg. Is it an AE?
On the Bragg property?
Mm-hmm. So then you'll have to build it high enough to make sure that.
Well, the existing ground elevation's already at 13, and the base flood elevation's 15, so it's not that.
So you'll just have to make sure all the floors are up that, or your insurance will be too high.
Yes, and the engineer has worked on that. He's already, the site plan, preliminary site plan includes that. And if we were to build right here, it's the same flood zone, but this base flood, our topo showed that this is actually lower than that property, so we have to build, have to put more
Well,
fill
that's
in
the
here.
most important thing, is to build high enough because of insurance.
Yes, Ms. Keisha is the floodplain manager.
You're required to build to
Yeah.
the floodplain.
Right. Now, if we want to throw in the towel and have someone who is so compassionate about this other building bring back a conceptual floor plan, as we had a volunteer conceptual floor plan drawn up that the architect was able to work with. Someone wants to, that to happen. Someone could kindly volunteer their 100 hours to develop a floor plan and develop a plan on how this building downtown is going to be renovated with staff in it, what it's going to cost. Call C.H. Concrete and tell us what it's going to cost for a new parking lot, to put energy efficient windows, and to put a new staircase that has to be big, like whatever, elevator and all of that. I don't want to go over it, but none of that has been brought forth by all these people that are so compassionate. You know, you do this, you do that, why haven't you done this, why haven't you done that? I've done a lot. If somebody else wants something else, somebody else needs to bring something else forward. I'm not chasing everybody's rabbits. I chase a lot of rabbits, but some of them I have to say no. Now, it's getting late.
We've already got a motion, I second it.
Okay, you second. All right, we have one more discussion item.
If you absolutely have to have a new building, I believe that the best option would put it over there in the water plant property. Now, I know you don't want to do that, but that's downtown and it is almost in the center rather than dropping way out there.
And that is, as Mr. Bryan said, it's out of sight, and it would save us a mere $50,000 for the purchase of Ms. Bragdon's property. All of the other, I believe this floor plan would fit on that property. That property might cost a little more in site prep, and that would be for fiscally responsible. That would be my second option, would be to move to that location, but not to try to restore that building, because that would just be too costly. But that is really going to save you possibly $50,000. I don't know what the site prep difference would be. So if we don't move forward on this, basically we run off on another tangent, look for another piece of property, try to renegotiate with the school board, whatever's getting ready to come up on the next item. We have lost our option. October the 1st will come and go, and we've lost our option there. And then if that happens, I will push to go into the city hall, the old city hall, and do the fiscally responsible thing. So. All right, so we have a motion by Commissioner Massey, a motion to purchase. Is there any more discussion? A motion to purchase the Bragdon property and to allow the mayor to sign the closing papers. And we have a second by Commissioner Walden. Is there any more discussion? All in favor? Aye. All opposed?
Aye.
Okay, so we have Commissioner, did I hear you say? Okay. Commissioner Walden, Commissioner Massey, Mayor LaPaz in favor, Commissioner Mathis opposed, and Commissioner Allen opposed. And I'm sorry that it has to be like that after all these 2.5 years working. I'm really sorry. And I'm sorry. And you're the one that called her for us.
Yes, you did. Yes, you did.
All right, come.
Oh.
All right. How much time we all get on? All right, here we go. We need to move on to the next item, and this is going to be another long one. Discussion and possible action concerning negotiations with the school board. So, Courtney circulated to all of you the counteroffer that was sent to Mr. Hartman by Ms. Sanders. Thank you all for staying. And Ms. Hartman says the school board accepts the terms below, and they will convey all the land behind the school or the city complex to the lot line back in the back, 4.5 acres. The city will pay the school board $45,000. And as I understand it, she writes, your board does not want the portables, so the school board will dispose of those under the rules we have to follow to dispose of surplus property. We will have to work out the details of the new lot lines, parking lease, amended lease, and the area needed for the nest. So please advise whether this counteroffer is acceptable to your client. So,
What was the counteroffer again? I'm sorry.
$45,000. They're asking the city to pay $45,000 to help assist with repairs to the field house, and then deed them the gym. And in turn for the gym, they will make sure I'm saying this right, Mr. Martin. trade the gym for 4.5 acres in the back of City Hall, right straight back. They will give us the most important item as express release of the city from its responsibilities.
I make the motion to approve that.
Joe,
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the motion.
I make a motion, we have to pay them, the school board, $45,000 and leave them the gym back. And then we'll have no more responsibility for the nest. And they'll be us, and we'll keep the 2-point-something acres in the back.
4.5 acres.
4.5 acres.
All right. Did you hear that, Ms. Keisha?
I'm still tapping.
Okay. But you heard it?
Yes.
What about the questions for that? Okay, so.
And simply it is to accept the school board's offer to
Offer,
us.
right.
Yeah, they accept their offer. We offered them $25,000 and they counted on it.
Who was the second? Who seconded that?
Mr. Mathis? Oh, sorry.
Now, the next school year's coming up, so we need to get this done then. I mean, we're gonna have to provide them with something if we don't.
All right, let me say, we have a motion by Commissioner Massey, second by Commissioner Walden. Let's have some discussion. Okay.
Just get it done.
All right, any other discussion? Commissioner Allen?
I think the negotiating committee needs to look at that and see if we can make another negotiation.
School starts Monday. I still make a motion to give them $45,000.
I don't personally think they came down enough to, I'd rather consider it even a better deal than that for us. That's my opinion. I think the negotiating committee was charged with that responsibility.
Is there any more discussion? We have a motion by Commissioner Massey and a second by Commissioner Walden to accept the offer from the school board at $45,000. I'm going to call for a vote. Do we, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed?
Aye.
Okay, so all in favor, Commissioner Allen opposes. So the motion carries. We need to work out the details on that. I've sent you a couple of things, so we'll work on that. Oh, no. We've got another item.
I just said the same thing.
Let's make it clear.
Do we want to table this item?
Yes, I make a motion to table it.
Second.
Okay, well, hold on. All right. Mr. Somebody, who made the motion to table this?
Olivia, who seconded?
Frank.
All right, so the motion is by Commissioner Massey, second by Commissioner Mathis to table item 3, discussion of possible action concerning future uses, marketing, and associated documents related to the Carrabelle Industrial Building. And then I have discussion, let's have discussion. Mr. Hartman, will you have some of these documents for us to review at the September meeting?
Yes, I've got the documents ready. The only item, yes, bottom line, yes.
Okay.
I've got them.
Yes, all right, so
We'll discuss it at the next meeting.
All right, you'll bring it to us at the next meeting. Meanwhile, we're going to work on, Courtney and I are going to work on some things out there on security and cleanup. Unless somebody else wants to help too. So, all in favor of tabling this item? Aye. Okay, any opposed? All right, so all were in favor and that motion carries. Thank you. Thank you all. Oh, let's adjourn. Let's
I
adjourn.
make a motion to adjourn.
Okay. Okay, that's a motion by Massey and a second by Mathis. All in favor? Any opposed? And that motion carries. Thank you all. Good evening.